Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. Today we are virtual, so no intro music, and so I didn't want to do the intro how we normally do it because it just sounds weird without the music. But today we have a special guest, Jack Cornick, JokicJoestar. Virtual claps for him. How you doing, man? Glad to have you on the show.
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. It's super cool to meet everybody. I'm very excited to cook up some hot takes with you folks.
Now, I've been following you on TikTok for a while, bro, and what drew me to your account the most is the dry humor, sarcasm in your videos, and just your ability to relate, just random things to basketball. I remember the one TikTok that had me dying that me and my friend were talking about, and I sent it to him because it was crazy because we were literally talking about it, and then you made a video on it, and I forgot how you transitioned into it, but you were like, you know what's fucking crazy? How Josh Hart is just averaging 8 rebounds. And then I was like, bro, we were just talking about this the other day. Isn't that crazy as fuck for a guard? So yeah, you definitely make a lot of great content on TikTok, and I'm glad that you're on the show.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. I remember I saw you were following me. I was like, yo, the Pick a Side guy is following me? Wow. So yeah, it's cool. It's good to be here.
So before we get started, just give a little quick intro about yourself, your favorite teams, agendas you're looking to push on today's show. Because on this show, a lot of our audience knows this is very agenda based. We have our own teams and stuff. So just
agendas.
Yes, you got a Lakers agenda. It's very evident, Drew.
Lakers agenda are they just good?
Lately. I don't know. I mean, I'm a Nuggets fan. I'm a Jokic fan first and foremost, but I see the flaws. I'm not going to cover up everything that's wrong with them. I'm a Nuggets fan. I love them. I will be pushing that agenda. I don't know. A lot of my agendas aren't really present in my mind, but when we start talking about teams, I'm going to say these guys are not good. These guys are good. It'll come out. I'm sure.
Yeah. So how all you guys doing today, Drew? I know you're in a hotel room in Disney.
I'm doing excellent, as you can see behind me. I'm posted up in the corner of my hotel room, but I'm in Disney. I'm excited for that. Going to the parks Monday through Thursday. I just had to kick my girl out of the room. Unfortunately, the guys are giving me shit for it because I sound a little bit rude. But regardless of that fact, I had to handle business. Make sure that I put some time away so we could bang out this podcast.
And you, Riv?
Feel good. Ready to start.
Riv, is that a new microphone?
No, it's not a new microphone.
You sound as clear as you've ever sounded before.
The setup is different too for you.
My camera is real clear. I got this Mexico camera.
The lighting
is killing me, Riv. Yeah, the lighting is crisp, but what's killing me? How you're just utilizing only maybe a third of your box, as opposed to the other 2/3 of your box too. I appreciate that.
I'm indeed laying back.
Oh yeah, no, you look comfy.
Yeah,
you're breaking all the film rules and how to actually be present within a camera. There's this rule called the rule of thirds, and it means that if you're a subject within a frame, the best way is to be on the right side of your frame, and right now you're on the left side. So,
yeah, well, rules don't apply to me. They never have. Probably never will.
Riv is spitting. I agree with that. Yo, how can we mention Riv without mentioning the fact that Joel said it best? Welcome back, bro.
Oh,
First time back in 3 shows, 3 absences, not 1, not 2, but 3 absences.
Yeah, man.
It's great to have you back, bro.
I had COVID. I was dying.
Allegedly.
Coco got him.
Yeah.
Allegedly, facts.
It was beating the shit out of me.
Damn.
I was not
going to get better. Joel, how are you, bro? You're in Arizona? How's life treating you?
I'm doing good. You guys know I'm gonna be out here for a while. 3
Bro said
weeks.
Bro said 2-3 weeks. My jaw hit the floor. I was like, what?
Nah, I thought we got the luxury of doing what we do from anywhere in the world as long as we have a stable internet connection. which my girlfriend does have Verizon, gigabit internet, so it's very good.
That's that real route.
Yeah, so I was just like, I'm just gonna be over here and I'm gonna help because she's moving in with me, so I'm helping move in that process in that time frame, and just like do all that stuff. So I'm out here, and Arizona's pretty cool. I really do like this state. It is fun. There's a lot of shit to do out here.
I saw you were posted up at a soccer game yesterday.
Yeah, I was at a soccer game.
Yeah, what was that like?
Was that MLS?
No, it wasn't. It's a step below that. It's semi-pro. It's called their team is the Phoenix Rising.
How was it?
It was fucking packed. Like there was an empty seat in the goddamn stadium.
How hot is it?
It's not even hot. Like literally when I was wearing a sweater and I was chilling. Like the weather in Arizona, you get the best of like every single world. Sometimes it's fucking hot as hell. I haven't experienced that personally yet. It's like chill as fuck. And then there are places in Arizona where it snows as well. So you get like there's like everything in Arizona.
It snows in Arizona?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In certain places it does. Yeah. And then I haven't seen a senior yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Wouldn't that be some shit? You move to some place where it's allegedly hot all the time. The first day you're out there, it snows. I'd be fucking fuming.
So Chino just said it's USL.
Imagine if we was in New York and it just had a tornado one day.
That's the one perk of being in New York and New Jersey, that it does not do that. So
randomly.
I think the best places to live is like places where you don't have to worry about natural disasters happening.
That's why New York and New Jersey is pretty lit. I mean, we get pretty bad snow, we get pretty bad rain, but we never really get hit with hurricanes. I think one time really.
Sandy.
I was gonna say.
Sandy beat the shit out of us.
I was gonna say that was one time really badly. That's why we weren't ready for it. We got pumped.
No, not at all.
That was a sucker punch, Mother Nature.
Actually, I was living with my grandma in the city at the time, so we had like 4 extra generators. So when everybody had no power, I was just playing like Xbox and shit.
You were living lavish?
Yeah, I was. I'll be honest.
Bro, all those people without the power.
House underwater.
Yeah, I was like, and we lived on like the 15th floor, so I didn't feel none of that water. It was just I was up there chilling.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So John, how are you doing in Dehls? You go next. I want to know how you're doing too, bro.
Business as usual. We finally got a Nuggets fan on the show, someone that can spit some facts to Drew. I'm feeling great, and Aaron Judge Homer. Back as always.
Facts.
You're a Yankees fan, John?
No, but you know what, Riv? This is the year. This is the year I get.
You're fraudulent.
I'm a Power.
You're fraudulent.
Who are you a fan of?
He doesn't know.
Are you just
Pittsburgh, bro? Pirates, man. You know.
John, it also killing me how after every time you stop talking, you turn your mic off. I really would love to know why you do that.
Because my mic will give interference if I don't. So I want to eliminate any possible interference, Drew. That's the reason why.
John's so funny.
I'm just trying to learn. That's it.
John is like unintentionally funny. Like he's just funny.
Is, bro. He really is. I'm doing good though. Celtics have been on a little hot streak, smoked the fucking shit out of the Bucks. And Joel, you better backtrack some of them statements.
It was their fifth game in 7 days. It didn't impress me.
Yeah, the Bucks who were just like 24-3 in their last 27, can't win 5-7, whatever. But I've been good. Mets are winning right now, 2-1. 2-1 start the season as well. Senga is making his MLB debut today. So very excited. And
now don't think I didn't notice, Drew, because I know for the last couple of games, I've been using memes to clown the Lakers, and the Lakers beat the Timberwolves, and Drew responds with the goddamn fucking meme. I'm like, this guy stealing my goddamn swag.
I had to, because you had your little moment with the Bulls. You thought you guys were cute. Riv too. But when the Lakers beat the Bulls, I didn't say anything. And of course, when the Lakers beat the Timberwolves, I wasn't going to talk crazy to you, but of course, I had to hit you with a little bit of your own medicine. Felt good. Felt great.
Yeah, but
I was going through my phone.
Jaden McDaniels did lock up LeBron.
He definitely made LeBron uncomfortable. I feel like locking him up is a little bit strong.
He had 18 points, bro.
Did McDaniels lock up KD? I missed that game. Did he lock up KD?
He did lock up KD as well.
KD was missing, I feel like, more than locking him up, bro.
Oh, yeah. Like, this kind of like the series versus Celtics.
Don't you think? That was KD's first game back, though.
It was. Joel, you could say the exact same thing about LeBron. LeBron usually makes some shots, just didn't ball. It is what it is.
So before we start the first segment of the podcast, Jack, I'm actually curious to know where the at name JokicJoestar originates from.
It's from an anime. It's from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So like every main character in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has like a full name, and part of each of their name has Joe in it. Like the main character for season 3, his name's like Jotaro Kujo. Jojo. It comes together. And so I was like, damn, Jokic has Joe in it. And then yeah, and so I don't know. Yeah, it's from an anime, and it just hit me one day. I was like, that kind of
That's lit.
rolls off the tongue a little bit. And I looked it up, no one had it. So I was like, damn, okay. Dude,
I recently started watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm like on like the 5th episode of it.
First season, mid. Power through, bro. Because like around like season 2, season 3, the powers get cooler, the art style gets more creative. I'm like the first season's like 18th century England, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it's fun, but it gets way more fun down the line.
So each season, is there a different main character?
Yes, yeah, it's the same family. It's like it takes course over like decades and stuff. It's all like an isolated kind of adventure.
And what are your favorite animes?
I like that. I like Hunter x Hunter. That was my favorite one. I love Cowboy Bebop. I don't know. I fell off anime like this past year because I started watching more realistic stuff. I'm on Succession right now, and like I'm in like the HBO era. I watched The Sopranos too. That was really good.
Did you watch The Wire yet?
No. I've been meaning to watch The Wire. I've been getting a bunch of clips on.
Hey Jack,
TikTok.
have you watched BMF?
No, I haven't. What's that?
That's on Showtime.
That's on. I thought it was Stars.
Hulu.
No. But like the it originates from like
Showtime. I don't get into the originate. I just find it on Hulu.
BMF. What's it stand for?
Oh, Jack, it's about this black mafia family, and they pretty much ran Detroit. You might like it.
Damn, I'll check it out.
Yeah, he produces it.
I really watch anything. I'm down.
Yeah, lock in on that. Yeah.
Nah, I definitely feel you because I went through this anime stage and I started watching realistic stuff. So I watched the Ozarks on Netflix. That shit was a fucking banger.
Yeah, Ozarks is amazing.
Yeah, Ozarks is amazing. But I recently got into anime. I just finished up Hunter x Hunter. The Chimera Ants
Dude,
arc.
this shit's so gas, bro. Oh my god. I love anime. It's good. It's just like, especially during the semester when I'm doing schoolwork and stuff, I watch things in the background while I do work. Obviously, I don't speak Japanese, so and I hate like the dubs for animes. They're also cringe. So yeah, when I can like sit down and focus on it, anime's chill. But right now, when I have to like multitask, I just don't really have time for it.
And have you watched Attack on Titan?
Yes, but not all the way through.
No spoilers. Please no spoilers.
I have not like caught up, but dude, I didn't really know what I was getting into when I watched Attack on Titan, and I binged like the first season in 2 days.
Yeah,
it's so depressing, bro.
It is depressing.
I was like, holy shit, I gotta take a break, dude.
Man, I started watching Attack on Titan after the first episode. My jaw was just floored. I was like, holy shit. And then, bro, like I had school the next 2-3 days. I did not go to school. I literally was fucking like all day long, like watching Attack on Titan for like 16 hours a day. And I finished the entire thing in like 5 days. Yeah, I was going crazy on Attack on Titan.
That's a good show. You know, you can't give it up.
And Drew, you've been watching Dragon Ball Z.
Dude, I finally just got past the Majin Buu fight with Goku. I won't say because I know people don't watch and I don't like spoilers myself, but I have 3 episodes left. So I grinded all of Dragon Ball. Now I've grinded all of Dragon Ball Z. Now I just have to watch Super, and that's another like 120 episode commitment. So I might take a break. I might watch something else. I've been really wanting to watch Better Call Saul because Breaking Bad's so good. Yeah, dude. Bro, I've heard people say that it's comparable to Breaking Bad. It's actually that good. So I need to finish Dragon Ball Z. I have like 3 episodes left, and then I'm gonna start Better Call Saul because Breaking Bad's like my favorite TV show ever. So I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's goated. On to the first topic of the episode. NBA's new CBA. Now, these are some important points that we all have to know from the NBA's new CBA. Extensions increased from 120% to 140% with how much a team can pay a player that is up for contract. There's going to be an in-season tournament starting in the 23-24 season. So next season, basically. And the prize money is $500,000 per player. And another important point is that a minimum of 65 games, players have to reach that minimum in order to be eligible for major awards, which is a huge shift If that rule was implemented this year, Embiid is not an MVP candidate. And then also teams over the $17.5 million salary cap threshold can't sign free agents to a mid-level exception deal. Each team is allowed a third two-way deal. And I guess this is an important one too for like players. NBA players are no longer penalized for marijuana, and it has been removed from drug testing program.
That's huge.
And
So
those are yes. So those are the major points from the new CBA. So I want to get your thoughts on it. John, I'll start with you.
John.
I can't believe people hate the in-season tournament because to me, it makes things way more interesting. And what I look at is when the NBA had in the play-in tournament, most people did not like it too much, right? Because it was new, it was a little bit unusual. But we got to see matchups like Ja versus Steph versus LeBron. We got to see high-profile matchups, and it made the games more interesting. And so when you talk about, I think the biggest part of this from the fan perspective, the reactions was the in-season tournament. I can't be the only one that looks at it and says, this could be a really good idea, and you're only adding in one extra game. The NBA season has 1,230. So the only downside, the potential risk of a player getting hurt in that game, they can get hurt in the 1,230 others.
No, I don't think you're too far off, John. And when I first saw the in-season tournament, I wasn't a big fan of it. But then I thought about it. And I thought about it while I was staying at a light pole waiting to walk across the street. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad because
Strange guy.
It can't get worse. Like the NBA regular season can't get worse in terms of excitement for the regular season. The in-season tournament can only better the product. Like you said, there is no downside to having the in-season tournament. So that's why I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I guess it's not a bad idea. And if anything, it's an extra, it's extra money for players that are playing in it. I know the WNBA does something similar to what the NBA is implementing. But then again, I always go back to, it's clear that the players don't really care about the regular season anymore. And an in-season tournament, I don't think that players are all of a sudden going to try. At least the star players are going to give it their all to win this tournament. It's going to be like a summer league championship, in my opinion. It's going to be the equivalent to that, where like people are just, okay, you won it, who cares? Like, let's move on. But it can only bring more excitement to the regular season, which is why I guess there's not a lot of downsides to it.
I'm trying to remain open-minded to it. I'm just curious, have they already released the breakdown of the in-season tournament? Like, how is it going to take place?
It's going to be the playing games will be baked into the regular season schedule. So they're not really adding in new games. And the top 8 teams are going to qualify into a single elimination. The winner takes home $500K per player, with the coaches, I would reckon, getting something out of it. And this finale game is going to be taking place in December. I think it would be awesome if it was played on Christmas Day to really drive up fan interest up until Christmas, because there are a lot of fans.
Interesting.
It doesn't feel like the NBA season begins up until Christmas. But if you can have a little bit of a lead up in the weeks before, especially for mid teams like the Wizards that are going to be really competitive in the tournament, then they're going to have something to play for with more media and national television deals. And then I think on Christmas Day could be the final game.
So are they going to start using this to add to people's legacies? Because, of course, people love narratives. So I'm assuming, Riv, if the Warriors win the first in-season tournament, it's going to be used to his legacy. Absolutely. All right, that's another thing that I'm keeping in mind, too. So
is there a name for it? Do they have the name for, like, the trophy?
I don't know. I know the WNBA's version of this. It's called the Commissioner's Cup.
Okay.
That's hard.
Because, you have, like, the Larry Bird trophy when you win, like,
I'm sure it'll get a name like that. They made a big deal naming everything. My big concern with it is it seems to me like it could be like a target score in the All-Star game situation, where the first year it goes down, it works really well, and like it's super effective, it's super exciting, it works out, everything. But then like as it kind of goes on, it does lose a bit of its potency. It stops becoming competitive and entertaining. And if it doesn't work out, it seems very like gimmicky. Like it would just be this point in the season where we hit and we're like, okay, now we have to do all this. Why did we implement it if it's not going to be exciting? So like I feel like it's a risk reward situation. I don't hate that Christmas Day take at all. I think that's pretty exciting. I would hope that like it's not the only thing that goes down on Christmas Day though, because I love watching basketball. That's one of my favorite parts of Christmas. It's like noon to 9 basketball.
Watching the Knicks on Christmas for sure.
That's always the
Yeah.
worst part. 12
Undoubtedly.
o'clock Knicks game.
That's a 12 p.m. slot.
12 o'clock Knicks versus Bulls or whatever
Sitting
nonsense
down,
matches
throwing
they
on
give
some
us.
Julius Randle highlights.
Um,
Yeah.
Well, no, Drew, you were right. If the Warriors are the first in-season tournament winners, I will push that. But
That's what I figured.
anyone else wins, you won't care at all.
yeah, I
It'll
don't
probably
care.
be a regular season fraud team like the Grizzlies that win something like that.
Pain. Respect John Morant, please. I just don't think there's no real incentive for the older players. You know, like the guys like Kevin Durant, LeBron, Steph, Kawhi, Paul, like all the older players. There's no real incentive for them. I think this is more of trying to keep the young guys exciting for the regular season, keep them fresh, keep them, tuned in, having them because they've been very active and wanting to play more games, wanting to be more active for the fans. But for the older guys, the guys that still bring in the biggest draw in the NBA, LeBron, Steph, there's no real incentive for them for this in-season tournament. It's been like for most of this NBA, CBA stuff, there's no real incentive for the older players. But for the in-season tournament, like you guys, I'm pretty optimistic about it. I'm excited to see how it's going to go. We can always add something new. So I'm not going to sit here and put bad energy on it. But I don't think the incentive for the older players is really going to drive it to be any better than what it's really going to be.
Yeah, and the play-in, I know a lot of people compare it to the play-in, but the play-in is still for the playoffs, which you go to try to win a finals on, right? This is still the regular season. There's really no real implications on, I don't know, maybe 20 years from now we'll talk about the in-season tournament as something more than just the regular season. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like it. I don't think you mentioned it, Joel, but also we have positionless All-NBA spots, which is obviously going to be massive for not just guys like Joel Embiid who deserve to be on all first team, but guys who are just top players who can get that supermax extension who haven't been able to because it's just sorted in a weird way. One thing I want to talk about that I disliked about the new CBA was all of these new rules implemented for the highest spending teams in the league, because teams that are in the upper echelon, like the Warriors, Clippers, Celtics are in it as well. There's a bunch of new limits that have been put on.
They don't want to see us win, Dehls. They don't want to see us win.
You can't sign a player to the mid-level exception. You can't trade cash for a player. First-round picks can't be 7+ years out. You can't take on more money than you're sending out, which is probably the biggest deal out of everything. And you also can't sign any players in the buyout market. I understand wanting to limit teams so you don't have this crazy super team, but you also don't want to limit owners from spending money. There should not be a negative for an owner wanting to spend all the money possible, because at the end of the day, that's just going to be beneficial for the players as well. So I'm not trying to be biased as a Celtic fan who kind of fits in this bracket, but it feels like you're limiting the top teams to improve themselves in the offseason, in the buyout market, and the trade deadline.
Well, listen, Dehls.
sorry.
He just Eminem'd himself. He 8-miled himself. He dissed himself when it came to the Celtics take, because that's what I was going to come to you with, Dehls. Well, of course you're opposed to it because the Celtics are nearing being that top spender, and of course you want to have the most stacked team. But I'm sorry to tell you, it's not happening no more, Dehls. It's not happening.
I'm worried about that Jaylen Brown extension. I can tell.
It stops here, Dehls. All right.
Oh,
The
yeah, because we have this
can't get any more
completely unfair
powerful.
super team.
It can't get anything. Look, I actually like this rule a lot
Of course
because
you do.
Yeah.
I feel like it makes
Or
sense.
teams.
It does make sense. The NFL is not like the MLB where you could just spend however much you want. I think that the NBA is a salary cap league, and because of that, we should have limitations on these teams from spending so much money to getting these players. I agree with this. I actually really do. And it's not because I hate the Celtics or anything like that. It's just I really agree with this. And, I hope that teams are making use of their third two-way player contract, because now that's going to be replacing it, right? Instead of signing players to mid-level exceptions, you're going to have to find these hidden gems in the G League to sign to two-way deals, because now you have 3 spots available for that.
This limits player movement. I know the KD and Kyrie trade would have been impacted if the CBA was implemented this season. So
shouldn't we want that though?
See.
But I feel like shouldn't we want to limit player movement for the fact that
no, absolutely not.
It feels okay, Lakers fan. Of course you don't want that.
The LeBron guy.
I just think that when it comes to player
Sorry,
movement,
I'm progressive thinker. I'm a progressive thinker.
Have you guys ever looked at how the league looked 4 years ago and you're just like, wow, everybody's in a different jersey now? I feel like there's no continuity, and it's better for the league if there is continuity around where players are playing.
I mean,
think about it, stagnant even as an owner can't hold a superstar hostage or a team hostage saying, you know what, I'm going to sign my one guy and not pay anyone else, and you're just stuck here. Like, it puts pressure on the owners in the front office to build a great team if you could have a player request a trade and he just gets out because you're not winning.
Personally, like, I get both sides. You know, you want to limit player movements because you don't want everybody going everywhere. You kind of want to keep, for the most part, things competitive. You know, you want to keep a good level playing field, have a lot of teams competitive. But using the Warriors and the Celtics as examples, teams should not get penalized for keeping the same players that they've had for so long. There should not be a penalty for drafting guys, them being good for your franchise, and you just keep re-signing them. I think that's unfair. You know, this hit a little home for me because we wouldn't have Dante DiVincenzo if this rule came out last year.
Boy.
But he's not homegrown.
Where would you be with that?
No, I know, but I'm saying he's on a mid-level. That's hurtful for me. Like that's painful for me because he's a good player. But I think for some teams, like, it's kind of like for the Clippers, I understand everybody on their team is not homegrown. For the Lakers, to a degree, same thing. So I understand for some teams it makes sense, but for other teams that are homegrown, I don't think this is fair. I think you should have a right to keep the players you draft and they develop with you.
And I believe Otto Porter was the MLE player for the Warriors last season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was crucial for the championship team.
Yeah, he was all right. You know,
he played his role.
But the positionless basketball shit, I'm not cool with. I don't like that.
Why not?
With the teams?
Yeah, for the NBA, I'm not a fan of that, man. I don't want to see
I'm
all
see
four big men on the first team. I really don't. Like,
get better guards. What do you want? I mean, I don't want to see.
Kill that.
This is solely because of Embiid. Embiid constantly complaining about it, and to be fair, Embiid is a first team player. For him to never have been a first team All NBA in his career is not all right. However, I agree. I agree with you, but you can't say that get better, but then agree with now the positionless All NBA.
My whole thing is just like the All NBA teams. I think if you're like remaking the NBA, it makes way more sense to just be like top 15 guys.
Agree.
Because when you're looking back through the years, you don't want to see like the
Ben
two
Simmons
best,
make it.
Yeah, you don't want to see the two best big men and then guards who are like the 8th and 9th best players in the league.
But I always thought that was fair, though. You had
fair.
You had All NBA. You had who's the top guards, who's the top forwards, and who's the top center. You split it up because they're positions that don't have the same responsibility. A guard and a center don't have the same responsibility, and they don't even have the same role. So I thought it was fair where you split it up with guards, forwards, and center. Now, I mean, I get it. The best 15 players, it's understandable, but it don't leave no wiggle room for those top 20-ish guys that have like a top 10, top 15 season.
I don't know, Riv. I disagree with that. I think that Jokic has the responsibility of a guard.
He's new though. He's a different type of player. You're right.
I think you can say Giannis has that responsibility on him as well. He's one of the primary playmakers for the Bucks.
I don't think he has the responsibility of a guard, though. He's a post playmaker. I wouldn't give him.
He does more than just post playmaker.
Yeah, but I wouldn't give him a Drew Holiday response. Like he don't have the same responsibility as Drew Holiday.
Nah, but Giannis will take the ball.
I get what you mean, though.
I just think basketball is positionless, and if we were remaking the All NBA team, given this current structure, we know that Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic are the three players that are going to be in it. Who would be your next two if we're doing it like that?
But wait,
Tatum.
Quick question, because you said basketball is positionless, and I agree to a degree, but how is basketball positionless when centers are playmakers? Yes, but realistically, 30 teams are in the NBA. There's only like 3 to 4, maybe 5 centers that are really positionless. The center position is still protect the rim, get points in the paint. So for the most part, it's still centers have to do that primary job.
But those are the players that we're talking about in the All NBA
getting supermax contracts.
Domantas Sabonis is somebody who has guard responsibilities on his team.
But Rudy Gobert's not, and he got a supermax.
Rudy Gobert's not, but I think if given his current structure, he wouldn't be an All NBA player. He'd probably make it like a couple, maybe 2 seasons where he really deserved it, and the defensive metrics were off the charts. But for example, I think also guards have different responsibilities as well. Like guards, when comparing them to each other, their responsibilities are different too. I think Darius Garland is one of them where he's taking a back seat because of Donovan Mitchell coming to town. But if he was the clear number 1 on his team, his numbers would look even better than they do now.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
You think he's All NBA if Donovan Mitchell's not on the team?
I think he's close to it.
They wouldn't win as much, so I would say no.
Oh, I mean, yeah, no shot. But
Yeah. I think he's 26-8.
he's nice, bro.
Well,
He's
21,
great.
He's 21-7 now. I think
He's a great basketball player. I just think that there are so many guards that we were having this conversation in our Discord chat. There are 6 firm guards right now that are just undisputed all NBA. And there's so many great players in that association right now that there could be a 4th team. That's how many great basketball players there have been this season. But off the top of my head, you still have SGA, who's got to make an all NBA. Curry has to make an all NBA. Luka has to make an all NBA. I think Dame for sure has to make an all NBA. You have De'Aaron Fox, John Moran.
This is where the games played comes
Donovan
in.
Mitchell. There's just so Jaylen Brown probably is going to get votes as a forward. But think about how easy it is to just name all these guards. In my opinion, I think Kyrie deserves recognition for all NBA as well. I know people don't.
He's not making that. I mean,
no doubt. But he's played well enough that he should deserve consideration, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Darius Garland at this point, I'll take over Kyrie pretty easily, in my opinion, at least.
What are we doing? Why are we suddenly
if what? Is it not a fact? Pretty easily.
Still the more efficient player.
By how much? Darius Garland is very efficient.
I mean, he might be.
He is very efficient. He is very efficient. I'll give Garland that benefit of the doubt for sure. But Kyrie is, like Joel just said, arguably the most efficient player outside of Steph Curry.
Not more efficient than Dame.
50, 40, and 90 this season, right? Or you said 50, 39, right?
Yeah, he's not more efficient than Dame, though.
Dame has been unbelievable this season, so I actually would not doubt that statement's correct. He's been stupid.
I think Kyrie's a phenomenal player, but I do think that we tend to overrate him a bit. I think that Darius Garland and Kyrie is a legitimate conversation, and I think if you're definitely building a team now, you're going to go with Garland.
John, I know you hear Garland's name and you're pitching a tent. So, John, go ahead.
The truth is, Kyrie hasn't made one of his teams better since Cleveland, and I love Kyrie. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He can let up a box score. He's an absolute magician. But we saw in the Celtics, the Nets, and then the Mavericks, he doesn't actually raise the team's floor oftentimes. And when I look at Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton, I think those are the 2 guards that we really need to give more credit to because of how well they've played while making a bigger impact on their team's winning.
Yeah, I think when you look at Kyrie, he's really like that guy. If you can build a team that can put him in position to be in the conference finals, hitting big shots and closing out big games, yeah, he's great. He's probably better than Darius Garland at that kind of stuff. But 82-game regular season, especially recency bias is tough, but the Mavs have just stunk with him. And it's not entirely his fault, but I mean, it's tough to really evaluate Kyrie right now.
And if it was we're talking about the Mavs, we're probably talking more confidently that Kyrie is an all-NBA player. If he went to Dallas and all of a sudden, instead of this terrible run they've been on, if they're doing the opposite and they're 10-2 in their last 12, it's probably a lot easier to have that conversation. But since they've just been so terrible and might miss the play, and now it's there's no chance I'm going to put Kyrie in that conversation, even though numbers-wise he deserves it. But when we do have a tiebreaker of actual impact and winning on a team, that's where I don't push back on the Garland saying you take him over Kyrie because all of the extracurricular stuff you get with Kyrie at times.
I mean, given the fact that the Nets are playing good and then KD goes out and they're a below 500 team, and then he totally destroys the entire team with a trade request. He's not an all NBA player for me.
It's not great. No.
Oh, all because he ruined my narrative and the opportunity.
He destroyed a team. What do you mean? It's not even a narrative. It's just a fact. He destroyed the Nets.
You told me they'd be over 500 without KD.
Well, they were close, but then he just requested a trade out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Darn you, Kyrie. You ruined KD's chance to win. I hate you.
If you had just said below 500, that would have held so much more weight. And then you followed up with
facts.
That's a fact. Yeah, blowing up the team. It's you're showing your cards a little bit. Oh man.
But now they got Brooklyn Bridges, which is fine.
Oh my God!
You're not pushing them anymore, though. So I mean,
no, I definitely told y'all about Mikal Bridges and what he was going to do, though.
You did. Haven't heard anything about him in the last month, but from you, he's been balling. I'm saying from Joel.
The Grizzlies knew.
They did know. That would have been a steal, man, if they would have got him. Let me know if you guys like this idea, because I actually come up with this idea about an in-season tournament structure that can actually be meaningful for the playoffs. And I just thought about this now. So I think that we have to start making divisions matter. I think that would boost up the regular season so much if we made each division matter, and we can have a tournament within the season for those top teams within the division to face each other, and whoever wins that tournament of like the divisions gets the top spot for the playoffs. Like they're the division winners for the playoffs.
Maybe I'm in the minority of this belief. I like how the NBA is kind of in its own. I can't say that because hockey is similar where divisions really don't matter too much, and still it's best in the conference. But I was going to say how unique it is that the NBA really is just conference based and not division based. But that statement gets thrown out the window because hockey is the same way. So I understand what you're saying. I feel like that's not a bad idea by any means. Start to give it some type of validity, some type of substance there. But for me personally, I like the way that it's structured already. I like that the NBA has decided to stick with the conferences, top 8 in the conference, and now the play-in, which John said people are skeptical. I'm all in on the play-in. The play-in is a great idea. It makes for competitive basketball, very interesting basketball. Everyone loves a nice do-or-die situation, and that's the play-in. So, hey,
Like-
I don't think that's a bad idea, Joel.
Like, for example, the way this would be structured is that there will be a certain part in the season where teams within the same division just face each other. And it would be basically, okay, the first seed in the division gets a bye, and they don't face anybody until the second round. And like, for example, we're talking about like the East, the Atlantic Division. The Celtics will get the bye. The Sixers face the Raptors. The Knicks face the Nets. And then the winner of those two games face the first seeded Celtics in like the championship for the division. And whoever wins that gets that seeding in the playoffs, the top seeding in the playoffs. Like, I think if they were to structure it.
Sorry, you care about that more than the issue we have in the NFL now, where the Bucks win 9 games and the Cowboys won 11 and have to go on the road. Does that, seeding matter more than win-loss record?
Honestly, I think that when it comes to the NBA, 16 teams make the playoffs out of 30. That's already half the league. And I don't think it's going to change much. Like the bottom teams that make the playoffs are still going to be teams that we look at as first round exits anyway. The same way with the NFL, where those divisions where the teams aren't very good, we look at them and we look at another team that can maybe make the playoffs over them. They possibly should make it, but I feel like divisions should matter. Like I think they should.
Philly would be a 5 seed this year,
and it depends. It depends. I think it all depends.
I think
maybe they'd be the 5 seed, or maybe they beat the Celtics.
Yeah, that's true. Assuming they don't. Yeah. Well, then the Celtics would be the 5. I don't know.
Yeah, but then they're going to be a very great 5 seed.
Yeah.
Like either way, it would be beneficial.
Did you steal that idea from 2K?
Nah, I just thought of it now. while we were talking, I thought about it. I was like,
they have that rule in 2K.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, like
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they have that rule in 2K.
Nah, yeah, I feel like we just have to start making divisions matter, and I think if we make divisions matter, the regular season will become much more interesting than just a $500,000 prize that for the top NBA players, what they're making, that shit is nothing to them.
Divisions don't matter because there's no rivalries, and there's no rivalries because everybody are friends. That's the problem. Like it used to
I don't
be
know
legit
if that's
rivalries.
I don't know if that's it. Listen, I agree with you. There's not rivalries the way that there once was in the NBA, but now it seems like everyone versus Memphis Grizzlies. That's a strong rivalry. I still think about the Bucks and the Heat, although the Bucks obviously won the NBA championship, so they kind of deaded that. But that's still a rivalry in my eyes.
Who considers the Grizzlies?
Celtics Philly in the postseason?
Who considers the Grizzlies a rivalry outside of fans? No team considers them a rivalry.
Yeah, because right now they haven't won anything of substance.
Philly and Boston aren't a rivalry because Philly doesn't even beat Boston ever.
I'm just saying it'll be heated games.
Yeah, it'll be heated games. Yeah. Like heated games and a rivalry is different. Yeah, like it could be
also the reason why there's more rivalries in the NFL is because there are divisions.
It's a fact.
Like John is a Steelers fan and he hates the Ravens, Bengals, and Browns. I'm a Jets fan. I hate the Dolphins, the Patriots. I like Josh Allen, so I got a soft spot for the Bills a little bit.
You do really?
I do hate the Bills.
Jones too.
But you think that's a division thing because they're legit used to be that in the league, and I just
it is like, for example, like the Jets. We've been like such a horrible team for our entire lifetime, but we still hate the Patriots because they've beat us 13 times in a row in the regular season. And I think that if the NBA had divisions now, a rivalry between the Knicks and Nets becomes more than just
but the NBA has
a city rivalry, and it becomes like an actual in-game rivalry.
The NBA has divisions, though.
My big
They just
concern
don't
with having
matter.
the tournament in division would be that once you start getting into like smaller sample sizes, deciding like where teams are going to be seeded, you will get some wonky stuff where there can be worse teams that get hot at the right time for that tournament and will be seeded higher. And I mean, if you're looking at it from the perspective of like the Lakers this year, if they could catch a team like that in a 3-seed matchup, which I mean, I know they're probably already looking at like, is it the Grizzlies or the Kings as a 3-seed right now?
Kings.
Oh, if the Lakers, oh man, I love the Kings.
Talk
I'm not
on.
going to get into that right now. But looking at it from that perspective, if the Lakers as a low seed could get someone who won their division that is not really that good of a team, that could give you some weird playoff matchups. That would be my big concern with something like that.
Definitely, I agree with that.
And the last thing I want to talk about the new CBA is we mentioned that you need 65 games in order to qualify for these big awards. That really is not going to impact too many of the top guys. We have around, 5 games remaining left on the schedule. Joel Embiid's at 63. He's going to hit that 65. Luka's at 63. Damian Lillard probably would be cooked because they're shutting him down 58. Shea's at 65. Giannis is going to get to 65. Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Trae Young, who's been really good. Obviously, he's not going to get All-NBA recognition. But a lot of the top guys have hit that 65 mark, and I feel like that number was very calculated because it's not, in the grand scheme of things, hard to hit that 65 mark. You're missing –
17
they're allowing
games.
you to miss 17
That's
games.
a lot of games.
That's a lot of games, exactly.
I feel like
Very well said,
60
Zach.
should
They're
have been the
basically
mark.
saying you have to play
I thought
80% of the
62,
NBA season.
Yeah,
And
60.
I
I
thought
thought would have been
70
valid.
would be a little more. 80 is like you're playing damn near the whole year.
65 is the perfect number. You get 17 games to sit and miss time. That's
See,
fair.
That means your boy LeBron makes no NBA.
No, I know.
That hurts.
And
you.
I mean,
get it.
LeBron's missed a ton of the season. Like, I don't think that's
He has,
insane
yeah.
to suggest like
No, it's not.
yeah. To me, this is the most clear-cut, like black and white good thing in the CBA. Because even if we want to disagree on how many games is the correct amount of games, having like a very hard line rule, just removing like all of this gray area about how many games is enough games to win a major award is good. Like that's one of the dumbest things in basketball discourse to me.
I agree.
It is.
It's like Kawhi
Yeah.
Leonard. He played 47 games. We were just talking about a Riv and was second team All NBA.
He played
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
51, and he made
51.
second team All
We
NBA.
could stop having that conversation. Did he play enough? Like, would you put him over? He played 15 less games. Like that conversations are dead, and we could just be.
We're
very
about to have
clear
we're
about it.
about to
I
have
love
All
it.
NBA teams with like mad, no old heads. just
Like
straight young
Jaren
guys.
Jackson.
Cal Bridges
I
is still gone to a third team one of these years. He's
Yeah.
still got to a third team.
Oh, he's
I'm
coming
just
for
saying.
second, bro. He's
Kevon
hooping.
Looney for 13. Don't sleep. He plays 80 games. Don't sleep.
It's
Please
like
don't sleep.
Jaren Jackson would be one of those guys that you wouldn't expect to be All NBA, but if he has the credentials, the 65
He can do it,
games,
yeah.
and a season like this year where we've seen him improve offensively, obviously he's been one of the best defensive players in the game. He might sneak into an All NBA. So that's why I like the 65. It allows people that show in, night out, that they're durable, that are going to be there on the NBA court, and starts to give them a little bit of praise.
NBA contender tiers. We're going to be naming our top
go.
5 teams in each conference that we feel is most likely to win an NBA championship. And we're going to start out wonky. We're going to start out wild because I think the East is very cut and dry. The Western Conference, we're going to get a lot of different answers, and I'm curious to see all these different answers. Jack, I'm going to start with you. Who are your top 5 teams in the West? Let's start from 5 to 1.
Dude, the West is weird. When I sat down to look at this, I like Nuggets and Suns, easy top 2 for me, just
Yeah.
in terms of like at least winning the conference. I don't know about winning the championship, but then you get down to like the next 3. I believe in the Kings. I really do.
Mhm.
Watching them in the clutch, their offense is, I mean, De'Aaron Fox, that stupid little free
He's-
throw line jumper, bro.
It's automatic.
He's different.
Yeah, he's nasty. I think I'm torn between Kings and Grizzlies for my number 3, and then at number 5, I do have the Lakers. They remind me of the Warriors of a little bit last season. How everything's kind of coming together at the right time.
Jack, spin that list one more time. Just run it off real quick.
Nuggets, Suns, Grizzlies, Kings, Lakers.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What do you want from me? What do you want from me?
You're missing his
What the
pride and
fuck?
joy. That's why.
I'm
You're missing his
sorry.
pride and
I'm
joy.
sorry.
Warriors.
What
The
the
boys
fuck is
down to
going on?
Oakland. What do you want
know
from
what?
me?
But have your fun.
I'm just saying. I think, okay, the Warriors, bro.
I'm just letting you know. I'm gonna just tell you this, Jack. Andrew Wiggins has been practicing. He's been shooting around.
You really
getting his
think they can? You really think they can
Ah.
start winning games on the road like that?
We
as a
won
six
two.
seed?
The last road trip, we won 2 in a row.
What are you up to?
Yo,
nine,
Riz,
back to-
9
9
back
wins,
to
exactly.
back
They don't even
wins.
have double digits. They don't have double digits.
The Grizzlies have like 14. That shit ain't like, what are we doing? This
Man,
time, we're 32-7 at home.
Yeah.
you're not
It's
playing at home that much in the playoffs.
Hey,
I
all we
mean,
gotta do is sneak one
hey,
road
don't get
win.
me wrong. I'm not saying it's impossible. Steph Curry is Steph Curry. Andrew
the Lakers
Wiggins
up
is
there.
clearly a huge difference
He's a
maker.
genius.
And Anthony Davis has been balling. I don't know how much I believe in that durability.
He
I
rolled his
think-
ankle the other day. I thought the
I
season was over.
I was like, it's cooked, it's done, and he got
What are you
he
laughing
powered
about?
through.
Joel, what's funny about that?
I'm just saying,
Grow up. Are you hoping for injury right now? No, I don't hope anyone
Oh
gets
my
injured.
god.
But I'm just saying, like, the playoffs are physical, bro. Like, they really start letting calls
That's a
go and
fact.
stuff. I don't
Think about
know.
the last time we saw AD in the playoffs. Think about it.
That was so long
I don't
ago. I can't
remember
remember.
it. It was
I
a
don't
minute
remember.
ago, bro.
Oh
He
my
got
God,
hurt,
we act
Drew.
like
That's what happened.
2021 was so long ago.
Oh man, I mean,
My
he
son was one,
cooking.
Drew. He's about to be
Shout out to
4.
RJ.
He's about to be 4.
Good. Good for him.
That was a minute ago, bro. Like,
Oh man.
That is a little while ago. He's
So
like,
if you were to pick a wild card, Jack, who would be your wild card? The 6th spot.
6th spot. Probably the Warriors, I'd say. I'll give the Warriors.
It's got to
Where are
be.
the
If they're
Grizzlies?
not in the top 5,
Where are
they
the
gotta be.
Grizzlies?
he said
Where
the
are
Grizzlies.
He's got the
Yeah, the
Grizzlies.
Grizzlies,
Grizzlies
top-
in the
top
top
four.
5.
Grizzlies
Oh,
are like
I
my 3rd or
apologize.
4th team.
Apologize.
Once, I mean, if Ja Morant is 100% in the mix, I back on the Grizzlies train. Like, I get that all the drama kind of made people fall off with them, but they're a really good basketball team. Once you don't have Dillon Brooks as your like second leading scorer, shit can change pretty quick.
Rev.
Would you like me to go second, or you want Riv to go because he disrespected the
You know,
Warriors?
I want Riv to go because obviously he's gonna have the Warriors in his top 5, and I don't think that's a bad take at all. But you know, he shitted on Jack's list a little bit, so I'm curious to see if he even has the Kings in his top 5 because I have a feeling it's not gonna be there.
Yeah. I don't have like an order. I just have 5 teams.
My goodness,
so
bruh.
Denver.
I'll tell you
Phoenix.
what, I took a similar approach because I
Yeah.
don't want to rank these guys.
'Cause
man,
it
you know?
depends on seeding, who plays who. I don't want to get into that. But Denver, Phoenix, I think are pretty obvious. I had the Lakers, I had the Warriors. I did have those 2 up there. And number 5, it was like a 50-50 between the Kings and the Grizzlies. It was a legit 50-50. One high-powered offense, no defense. Another high-powered defense, half-court offense stinks. It was like a tale of 2
Been better.
halves. The Grizzlies and the Kings.
Yeah, it's been better.
It's like a tale of 2 halves. I would probably lean the offense, so I might say the Kings. But the Grizzlies, you know, they have the experience a little bit. They've been in the playoffs. So
The
those
Grizzlies'
are like
half-court offense in March is ranked like 15th. It's still average.
yeah,
Yep.
that's 1
Not
month,
better,
but
though.
nobody, all the shit teams don't play hard. But you know, those are my 2 teams at 5 because those 2 teams are such like wild cards in the sense. Like the Kings, offensively, is one of the best units probably in NBA history. But are you going to get that same high-powered offense in the playoffs? You know, playoffs are a little different. With the Grizzlies, can they fix up their half-court offense? Do they have enough shooting? Defensively, we know they're great. When Jaren Jackson gets into foul trouble, what happens? Is Steven Adams going to be back? You know, that's always a tricky.
That's a
situation.
huge question because I mean, like,
and I'll probably put those
No
2.
Clark or Adams. That's not ideal.
Yeah, I'll put those 2 teams over the Warriors just for the simple fact they don't have Andrew Wiggins. They still struggle on the road. You know, so that's something you got to look for. The Lakers, they just have to be healthy. If they're healthy, that's a team that can be scary. Defensively, they are really good. Offensively, they have the firepower. And then Denver and Phoenix, I think, are the clear-cut top teams in the West. Denver's been the best team in the league in the West all year. Phoenix, you have Kevin Durant, you have Devin Booker. I feel like Okogie, Chris Paul, Ayton should be fine. You have 2
Chris Paul
high-powered
worries me,
offenses.
bro.
Yeah, you
Like,
have 2 high-powered guys. And then
He's
my
just not
wild
the
card,
same.
would probably be the Clippers if I had to pick a wild card. If
I was
Paul
close
George,
on them. Yeah.
If Paul George, they looked good until Paul George went down. They looked like they finally figured it out. So if Paul George come back, if Kawhi gets them out the first round, that's one team that could be my wild card. So those are my teams.
I saw John getting giddy when Riv started talking about the Grizzlies. So go ahead, bud. I'll pass it to you.
Yes, guys, he's ready.
My top 5, with an honorable mention of the Lakers at 6, would have the Kings at 5. Why
I
are you
let
doing
this guy go
If Anthony
first.
Davis
I let
rolls
this
the
guy
Lakers,
go
he was never
first.
like that.
My goodness, they're the 3rd seed, John, at 5.
I do have them at 5, but I think it's very close between them and my Dubs. Not my Dubs, I'm playing the Dubs at 4. But I do think the Warriors are the highest ceiling of any team in this group. We saw it last year when Andrew Wiggins is on the floor. The Warriors, the best 5-man lineup in the NBA. And I think he is just the missing piece of Gary Payton returning.
Their bench would still stink, though.
Dante DiVincenzo, yeah, I think he's been good enough. So I think they'd have 7 guys that they could work with. At number 3, I have the Grizzlies. At 2, I have the Suns. And at 1, I have the Denver Nuggets.
Damn, no Kings.
Save.
Kings at 5.
My Kings are at 5. Come on, Dehls.
okay.
You got AirPods and you're not listening.
My team in this mix is the Memphis Grizzlies. I think everybody's written off Memphis in spite of John Morant being a playoff superstar, their defense being top 5, them having one of the better coaches, and also Luke Kennard coming in. He's been an absolute laser from deep. Having a shooter on the floor at all times really does make a difference for a team that last year not only was missing John Morant for half of that Warriors series, which they took the 6 games, but also was having Desmond Bane play through a back injury, and he wasn't quite the same player. So I think adding Luke Kennard off the bench really could be a difference maker, given how badly they needed that extra shooting offensively in the half court.
Doesn't
You know,
worry.
he's hard to John. You know he's hard to play in playoffs. He can't defend.
That's why it helps having Jaren Jackson and Xavier Tillman.
I don't know.
That's why when we're
Oh, you
ahead,
think
Jack, go ahead.
are you counting on Xavier Tillman to get a lot of playoff minutes?
Tillman's good.
I'm not. I think
He is. He
Steven
is
Adams
solid,
could
though.
be out for
I
the
know
season.
he's a good player, but I mean the playoffs are different.
He might have to if Adams isn't going to play.
Because
Yeah.
Adams got a stem cell injection and seems like he hasn't been recovering well. He is huge on both ends of the floor. And his field, John Morant, they're a +10 when he's on the floor. So I think that's a huge loss, that 20 minutes per game in the role he could play guarding a Jokic. But the reality with Memphis is no rim protector wants to deal with John Morant because the amount of pressure he puts on the rim with the 2 shooters opens up a lot for them. They currently rank this year 22nd in half-court offense. And we've seen offenses in the past. Drew's laughing. You're a LeBron guy.
No,
LeBron's
I'm not laughing. I apologize.
with
I'm not
that
laughing at you. I'm
half-court
laughing at the
offense.
comments. I'm laughing at the comments because someone called me an idiot for telling him to watch Laker games. I apologize.
LeBron
I
in
apologize.
07 made the NBA Finals with the 25th ranked half-court offense. They went against San Antonio and got swept. The Detroit Pistons
07.
went to
Think
the
about that
finals-
team you're talking about.
Yeah, the Pistons went to the finals in back-to-back seasons. The first year of which they had an above-average half-court offense at like right around 12 or 13. The second of which
different
they lost
NBA,
in
though.
7 games. They were 24th in half-court offense. The most recent poor half-court offense we've seen, they had LeBron James go to the finals, was the Lakers in 2020 when they ranked 16th. Obviously, that team had more than enough defensively. The common denominator in all those teams is defensively, they're on one, and they had a superstar.
And LeBron James. Facts.
Well, the Pistons,
you were gonna
they
say
have
something?
a superstar, but they were just one of the most well-built teams we've seen
But
recently.
that's one of the best defensive teams we've seen in NBA history. That's not the Memphis
Yep.
Grizzlies.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. They're
You know,
not the
John, a
Pistons.
lot of those stats you just rattled off to me basically made me very confident that the Grizzlies are not making the finals.
The Grizzlies aren't making the finals.
They're not.
Nah.
But
I'm
that
with
could
you,
be
John.
respectful. That could be respectful. The Grizzlies are still listen, I have the Grizzlies in my personal top 5.
They
They're
sleeping,
good.
John.
They're,
I'm with you.
they're a solid team. They are a really good team. Defensively, they're one of the best defenses in the West. You could say that your concern is offense for sure, but one thing that I do give credit to is when Ja went down, they needed someone to step up, and that was Jaren Jackson. Jaren
Tyus
Jackson
Jones.
has done, of course, but I'm saying in terms of who needed to take a true jump in the offense, who needed to really assert themselves. Tyus Jones, absolutely one of the most underrated basketball players in the association. I'm with you, Riv, but Jaren Jackson, when you and I talk about the Grizzlies, Riv, who's their number 2 scoring option? We always say it's Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
You have John Morant, you have Desmond Bane. And I was looking for Desmond to really assert himself to be that number 1, when in reality, it was Jaren Jackson. And with John missing time, now Jaren has this confidence where now it's not just the two-headed dragon of John Morant and Desmond Bane who are on the offensive side. Now you have to start catering to Jaren Jackson and understand, hey, this guy's a threat. And now Jaren's confident in his mind, hey, I'm not someone that can just sit in the corner, wait for my shot, wait for John Morant to kick it out to me. I'm not just this regular post player. I'm not just this guy that's going to be big down low. No, I actually can do something and contribute to the offense on this team. So you have one of the best defenses. And now with Jaren Jackson in the mix, you have 3 guys that could score the ball at a high level. I definitely am not going to sleep on the Memphis Grizzlies.
I don't know. I think John Morant can score the ball at a high level. In a
Of course.
playoff series, consistently, I don't trust Desmond Bain enough or Jaren Jackson enough to say there are
Respect,
high-level playoff
respect
scorers.
Desmond Bain.
To
Respect
say-
him,
to
fine.
call them-
Five.
To call them high-level playoff scorers, I just don't think that's
I didn't say
accurate.
that. I didn't say that. I said that they're high-level scorers.
Yeah,
But
but
we're
yeah,
talking about- we're talking about the
Jaren
playoffs,
Jackson
though.
is a high level scorer.
Well, Jaren Jackson,
showed
when John
flashes.
Morant's absence,
High level might
had
be
showed
low.
flashes. Correct. I guess if we want to do semantics, he showed that he could be a very solid scoring option for them, no doubt about it.
I just
Averaging
think
over
he's all
20
right.
in every single game. Jaren Jackson's all right. He's shown to be all right. So I can understand
Offensively,
where you're
he's all
coming
right.
from.
Defensively,
I don't
he's elite.
disagree. I'll say this again: with John Morant gone, Jaren stepped up to the plate.
No,
And
I know.
now
I
he should
understand what
have-
you're saying.
Drew, what's your list again?
Yeah, I
So
want to hear it.
I gave my list. So these are my 5 teams. I don't have them ranked because you understand where I'm going to go. So I'm going to take bias aside. So
Right.
of my 5 teams, I have the Nuggets. I have a healthy Suns. They need Kevin Durant to be a contender. Without Kevin Durant, this is not a contender to me. But of course, with Kevin Durant, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's definitely a contender. I have the Golden State Warriors out of respect for the fact that Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, that trio, so long as they're together in the playoffs, they can make anything happen. The missing piece is Andrew Wiggins. That's another reason why I'm not higher on them. Without Wiggins, this isn't a team that I definitely see or am as confident as being a true contender. But I'm going to respect Steph Curry because he's earned that right, and I'm going to respect the counterparts of Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, of course. Number 4. I was torn on this one because, again, I just said that I have the Grizzlies in my 5, and I'm going to be honest. I lied to you guys. I apologize for that because you can't discredit the King.
Bro,
The
got
Kings
Why the
swayed.
hell did you just go on his
Bro, got
Grizzlies
swayed.
spiel?
Because I needed to show respect to the Grizzlies and understand that this West is still very good. And I would not be surprised in a first-round matchup to see the Nuggets, to see the Memphis Grizzlies move on to the next round. They're a solid team, and they can beat one of these two, whether it's the Timberwolves, because I can promise you the Lakers, they're not going to be that playing team. We're going to lock that top 6. We're very grateful that the Clippers lost last night. It could be either the Timberwolves, potentially maybe the Pelicans. Who knows what happens there? But, hey, if the Clippers keep losing, the Clippers and the Grizzlies series, I feel a little bit more confident in the Grizzlies. They're a little bit more consistent. Of course, credit to Kawhi. I think that the Grizzlies are the more consistent team. So number 4, I do have the Sacramento Kings. Just too great of an offense. Just been too historic this season. I believe that this team can translate their offense to the playoffs. What does concern me is that defense. The defense is really, really bad. But when you have such a high potent offense, it could cancel out a really bad defense. And come home court advantage, Sacramento Kings have one of the best fan bases. And, of course, number 5, Los Angeles Lakers. You knew I was going to say the Lakers. LeBron James has not been his true self since coming back, still getting acquainted to things. But Anthony Davis has been absolutely unbelievable. Since the trade deadline, we still have the best defense in the association. Vanderbilt has been sensational. Are we 2 now?
3rd.
Oh, so it's the Bucks, the Hornets, and us?
Wait, the Hornets are top 3?
The Hornets were very high at one point because Mark Williams has been unbelievable. You let me know. I thought last I checked,
think
we were number 1.
It's Mark
I'm fine
Williams.
with the
Also,
correction.
Dennis Smith Jr. His defense is ridiculous.
Facts.
he's
Yeah.
hustling.
So,
They've been top 3 though. Yeah.
but when AD, LeBron, and D'Angelo Russell are on the court, which has been limited, of course, we are undefeated. We do have the highest offensive rating, the highest defensive rating, the highest net rating. It's a small sample size, but it's to show you how dominant these 3 are together. D'Angelo Russell has been one of the prized possessions of the trade deadline, has been one of the most efficient players for the Lakers, shooting over 40% since being acquired. Vanderbilt has been a difference maker for the defensive culture that we want to bring to the court. People like to shit on Dennis Schroeder. I don't see it. I see all he brings us is energy on both the offensive and the defensive side. Rui Hachimura, last game against the Timberwolves, did a great job in that second half of limiting Karl Anthony Towns. Something that people knocked him for was his defense. For me, all I've seen is the heart that he gives on the defensive side of the ball. He's done a great job for us. Of course, we've seen his minutes fluctuate because we just have such an onslaught of talent since the trade deadline. A beautiful luxury that I never thought that we'd have, to be honest with you. And the one thing that we do lack is yeah, that's a guy that he's too hot and cold for my liking. When he's on, he's on. Shout out to him. But when he's off, it's really hard to put him in the lineup. Troy Brown, that's another guy who's been a great role player for us. What we lack is size. Mo Bamba, I hate even having to do this because I hate when people say, hey, Mo Bamba's coming back. That's our answer. that is our answer, but it's unfortunate that has to be our answer. We do lack size when the three biggest guys on the court are LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and a Rui Hachimura or a Vanderbilt. That's an issue for me. We do need another big man. But outside of that, our defense is phenomenal. And when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, scoring should not be an issue. And the way that D'Angelo Russell's been playing basketball, we should be set. And I didn't even mention my boy Austin Reeves because I know you guys are tired of hearing about it.
Riv is flabbergasted.
Okay,
I didn't say anything wrong.
He just went on a whole spiel about the Lakers, man. I'm tired of hearing
It's your first time on the show.
It's a contenders. We're talking about contenders, right? So of course I'm going to explain
why
I have
20-second Suns, 20-second Nuggets, 20-second Kings.
You want to fill some
minutes
airtime? Ask a Lakers fan about the Lakers. My God, bro, that was crazy.
Hey, it's not only that, Drew. It's the fact that you went on this whole spiel hyping up Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond, not to even have them in your top 5. Then you went on to talk about the Lakers for 20 minutes, and they're 5th. they're not even number 1.
Whoa, I don't have them 5th. I said this is not a in order because I'm trying to remove
it was last
bias.
but not least.
These are exact. That's why I saved my Lakers for last because you knew that I was going to talk about them the most.
I like to go in order and not do this little.
That's a lie.
That's
a lie.
You hate going in order.
You're
give people in order.
That's for last.
So look, I'm
for last in this moment.
I'm gonna attempt to put a lasso on this Wild Wild West right here, and I'm gonna just say this: the Clippers, the Lakers, they're not in my top 5. They are not.
Watch.
The Clippers. Injuries and I just don't trust the Clippers. I'm out on them.
Russell Westbrook.
The Lakers, Russell Westbrook problem. The Lakers, this is my issue with them. If this is any other team, we're talking about D'Lo not performing in the playoffs. We're talking about Malik Beasley's variance being a problem. We're talking about Jared Vanderbilt not being a playoff liability, which he probably will be.
Oh, now you're going to change sides on the Vandalorian.
Vando last year in the Grizzlies series.
That guy's a winner. That guy's a winner.
He is a winner. He is a winner. He is a winner.
Now he's a playoff liability.
He is a winner, but his lack of spacing is definitely a problem in the playoffs. And
he's been knocking down recently. Last couple games.
Yeah, I ain't going to trust that. I know who Vando is, and he's an exceptional player in his role. But in the playoffs, players like him get played off the court because they provide no spacing. And LeBron, at this stage in his career, provides no spacing. AD provides no spacing. The lineups that you guys are going to run out in the playoffs have no spacing. Even with this winning streak the Lakers have been on, they are still one of the worst half-court offenses in basketball, and that matters in the playoffs. And in this win streak, they've been average. So I'm out on them. And you know what? A team that's my wild card that's not in my top 5, but listen, they're hot. They're getting healthy at the right time. Is the Pelicans. They were the number 1 seed before Zion went down. And Zion, if he's healthy and he's back, listen, I think they are more of a threat than the Lakers and the Clippers.
How predictable is this guy, guys? How predictable?
I think they are.
You really gonna? You can't shit on the Lakers for all these questions and just assume Zion's gonna come back.
The Pelicans are my wild card, though. They're my wild card.
They should.
It's just such a shock.
It's funny because he hasn't said a word about the Pelicans, but then he made that tweet, and once he made that tweet, I knew.
You could read this fucking guy like a.
You want to know why? You want to know why, Riv? You want to know why, Riv? Because I locked myself in the film room and I was watching that film.
You were cooking BI like a week before that,
and I was watching that.
The Rockets.
I'm talking about Zion coming back. If BI is the leader of this team, I know they're not going anywhere. But with Zion Williamson, oh yeah, you best believe they got a high ceiling with Zion.
Wait, so let me just
Drew, hold up. I'm kind of distraught, Drew. We were just talking about with Riv in the beginning of the season that the Pelicans could be a finals contender. Now that they're getting healthy, if Zion comes back, you're out on them. They have no chance.
You got to figure shit out quick.
Playoffs
are a week away, bro.
I knew that once you asked that question, I wasn't going to get a word in, so I decided to sit back. But I can answer very quickly. I believe in this Pelicans team if Zion had been ready to go all along.
You're smart.
Zion getting ready to come back a couple days before the playoffs start. It's a concern to me. Yes, do I believe? That's exactly it. You're asking for a lot from Zion, which hey, I believe if Zion's on the court, he's ready to go.
He's a big boy. He can handle it.
He's going to play great in my opinion. However, it's a lot to ask him to ramp up that quickly, keep all that energy for the team to completely adjust to it. And you said it too, when it comes to Zion and BI, they really haven't shared that much court time. in the last 2 seasons almost at all. Last season, of course, Zion missed the entire season, and this year it seems like they took turns of who's going to miss time. So that's another concern to me. The way that Brandon Ingram has dominated this offense has been amazing these last 9 games. Then Zion comes back. Then it's going to be hard to integrate the both of them together. Yes, I'm with you, Joel. I believe that this team is extremely talented if and when Zion comes back to the court and is healthy, but it's too late. It's too late in the season to really put all your chips into their basket.
With every team right now that we're talking about in this wild card status and teams that some of you guys have in your top 5, they have these similar issues. With the Lakers, I don't think LeBron's foot is 100%. I think that it still looks like he's a bit hobbled from it. And
but he's back and has games to still get back.
But that's something that's going to linger on. He has like a week to get back. With the Clippers in the first round, if Paul George comes back, every one of these teams that have these high ceilings have these issues. And that's why my top 5 is made up of teams that have continuity outside of the Suns. Number 5, I have the Warriors, because the Warriors, when healthy, listen, are the champions. They have to be knocked off. I have to see it. I think that they deserve the respect over the Lakers, Clippers, and all these other teams in this list. Number 4, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. I think, although I've disrespected them, I know they have the best continuity of any Western Conference team outside of the Denver Nuggets. And
that's debatable. Ja Morant missing time, man.
But they are proven. They've proven year after year that they just keep progressing. So I can see them maybe reaching the next level. I know I'm harsh on them, and I'm not predicting them to do it, but I can see a scenario where things do click for them. Number 3, I have the Sacramento Kings. I think this is a special season. And I know that everybody's talking about them losing in the first round. And I can't wait until they make it out the first round and people eat their shit, because I think the Kings are having a special season. They play defense when they need to. Mike Brown is a defensive coach, and I trust him to structure a game plan around a certain team's strengths in the playoffs to limit their offense. I do. Maybe it's not going to be the best defensive performance ever, but I think they'll be good enough for their offense to overcome that challenge. Number 2 is the Denver Nuggets. I think that they have the most continuity in the NBA in the Western Conference. And if it wasn't for KD joining the Suns, they'd be my finals pick. But Kevin Durant with the Suns, the matchup versus the Nuggets, the drop coverage they're going to have Jokic in, I just feel like D-Book and KD would eat that alive. And that's why I have the Suns number 1. But the Suns worry me too, because Chris Paul is fucking washed. Like Chris Paul is done. Like, and you can have some vintage performances from him every so often, but counting on him, I mean, my goodness, I just don't know if I can count on him 2 rounds into the playoffs, in the conference finals, to just have that gear. You can see that his legs have slowed down. He's not the same player. And that's why getting KD was so crucial, because if it was not for KD, then this team would be probably like teetering between Contender. But I just think Chris Paul is not the same player no more. And I think that in the playoffs, we might see a lot of lineups of like KD, Booker, Okogie, maybe Craig and Ayton. I think they might experience with Chris Paul being on the bench and Okogie as a ball handler. They've done it sometimes this season.
Or D-Book as
like an initiator.
Yeah, I just think that Chris Paul, he's just not the same, man. And I think that it all goes back to last year's playoffs versus the Mavericks. As soon as he turned 36, he just fucking fell off a cliff. I don't know.
I'll say this. I still believe that, yes, I'm not going to say Chris Paul is the same player. No way. I mean, you have to be blind to say that. However, I do believe that his job is still simplified. He needs to just initiate this offense, be a playmaker. The defense may be an issue because he's not the same physically as he once was, but in terms of initiating this offense, he's still capable of doing so. He's still able of getting D-Book and KD into their spots. And for the occasional bucket, we're not asking this guy to be the once 20-point per game scorer that he once was. No, if he gives you a solid 6 to 10 points, but consistently is averaging 9 to 11 assists, which I believe that he will do so, then that's fine. Especially he understands his role within this offense. I feel like that's why he won't be as much of a liability as it's sounding, at least to me, how you are saying with Chris Paul. But he has an easy job. And when OG was on the show, he said it perfectly. He has the easiest job of any player in the NBA because his job is to set up Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
My big concern with Chris Paul is just like, so it seems lately his 3-point shot has been very streaky. And when you kind of think about like deep in the playoffs, I would not be surprised to see him be a guy that teams are like testing, doubling Book and Kevin Durant off of. And I mean, obviously letting him get to that mid-range spot that he loves so much, that's going to be a disaster. But if you can keep him on the 3-point line and force him to shoot the shots, I wouldn't say like you're clamping the Suns by any means, but I would say like if I was a like coach, I feel like that's the defensive approach a lot of people are going to take. And I don't know, like Chris Paul can average 10-10, no problem. I think he could do that. But like I think when you put him into that position where he needs to like either shoot or attack the rim, I don't know if he's going to be able to like he's going to be capable of doing that.
Basically, with the Suns, you're going to need Booker or KD to be on the floor at all times.
Oh yeah, no question.
And that's my concern.
And the
But
Suns
Dehls,
also are going to have to play. Oh, sorry, I was going to say, I know I have a couple friends who are Suns fans, and they're a bit worried going through round one, probably the Clippers, round two, Denver. And I was talking to them like, I feel pretty confident in the Suns. There, if I had to rank them, number one would be the Suns with Kevin Durant. But I know Suns fans don't feel, I feel like, as confident as outsiders do, and them kind of, you know, not comfortably winning the West, but maybe more comfortable than we think that they will be. But I do have the Suns at 1 with Kevin Durant. I have the Nuggets at 2. Like you guys all mentioned, they feel like that kind of tier above the rest of the guys. I do have the Kings at 3. And this goes back to the conversation we had maybe about a month ago when we were debating the Kings versus the Mavericks, saying that offensively, I know they have Luka and they have Kyrie. They have the better shot makers, but collectively as an offense, I trust the Kings more. And we brought up Mike Brown too, like Joel just mentioned. I trust him to have at least one more stop than whatever most likely bad defense they'll be playing in the West, since there's really only a couple teams that play defense. At 4, I have the Warriors, again, with Andrew Wiggins back. If Wiggins isn't in the fold, I have a hard time seeing this team coming out of the West or really making a deep playoff run. The road struggles, 9 road wins, and we're in April. I know you could say you just need to get one, but you've been struggling to get one damn near all season long. You could feel good about the 2 road wins you had a couple of weeks ago, but to, you know, just all of a sudden flip the switch in the playoffs when you haven't been able to for the last like 6-7 months of the season since October, I don't know if you could just flip that switch no matter how great and whatever dynasty you have going on. And at 5, I have the Lakers. I know there's a bunch of hate going around, but you look at the West, there's not a single team in the West that doesn't have a question mark, right? Even if you want to talk about the Nuggets, what is that going to look like when you have Jokic and pick and roll defense? If you have the Suns, is Kevin Durant going to stay healthy? Is Chris Paul completely washed that he's going to hold them down? The Kings defensively. So even when you talk about the teams that I think are better than the Lakers, it's not like they're just perfect teams like the Celtics or Bucks in the East where you don't really see as many holes. The Lakers have one of the top defenses since the All-Star break. You have 2 bona fide superstars in AD and LeBron James. If they're healthy, I mean, the upside for this team is a deep playoff run. And they definitely have their question marks. I know there's some players who, like you mentioned, Vando could limit your offense. Malik Beasley could be streaky. D'Lo historically hasn't been the best playoff performer. But I think AD and LeBron can cover a lot of mistakes that some of these other teams on this list don't really have that luxury of covering. I would have the Grizzlies as an honorable mention. Defensively, they're great. It feels like their ceiling isn't as high as these other teams. I don't think they have what it takes to get to the finals. I feel like they still need another guy who could create their own shot. But I feel like floor-wise, I feel pretty comfortable about them getting out of the first round. There's a chance they could go up against maybe the Lakers in the first round, and I could feel differently about that. But their floor feels pretty safe with how well they play defensively. Jaren Jackson being, one of the best defenders in the league, and you have obviously a tremendous offensive player in John Morant with good pieces like Desmond Bane and those guys. But still, one of their biggest issues that has been all season long has been their free throws. They are one of the worst free throw shooting team in the league. Steven Adams, who's been injured, is one of the worst free throw shooters in terms of starters in the league too. So even with him back, like, is he still going to be closing these lineups? But that would be my 5: Suns, Nuggets, Kings, Warriors with Wiggins, and the Lakers.
My only pushback, with Joel, all jokes aside, the trolling and stuff, the Pelicans, I think, is a good pick. The only thing is, like I said before, you're asking Zion to do a lot. You're asking him to come back pretty much a week or 2 before the season, and we don't know if they'll be in the play-in or not. They could be, they could not be, and prepare for a type of basketball he's never been prepared for. pretty much gear up for playoff basketball, something he's never been. He hasn't played in a long time. So it's like that's a lot to ask of Zion. And the roster with the Pelicans, it's all right. I don't think it's that good as what we imagined it would be. Herb Jones.
I don't believe in CJ
Yeah.
McCollum.
Yeah, CJ ever since his hand injury, he hasn't been able to hit shots consistently. It's been up and down, and consistency is there. Defensively, he's not good. Herb is great defensively, but if he's not hitting threes, it's hard to play him. Trey Murphy, he's good, but his self-creation still needs work. JV, you can play him off the floor pretty easily, and they don't have really consistent backup bigs outside of Larry Nance. Jackson Hayes, I want to see a little bit more, but playoff time, it's pretty much over for that. So the Pels are tricky. With the Kings, for them, it's as simple as who do they have to stop somebody in the fourth quarter down the stretch? They have De'Aaron Fox, who's been the best fourth quarter player in the league.
Trey Lyles.
I think you throw Davion Mitchell out there. He can lock up a little bit.
I think Kessler Edwards.
Offensively, he's tough.
Some teams,
some Kessler Edwards minutes.
Yeah, Kessler's good, but like for Fox, I'm not saying he's easy to stop either. But some teams have somebody that can make him work. With the Kings, if they play the Lakers, they don't have anything for LeBron and AD down the stretch.
Zero rim protection. Not a
none.
single semblance.
So it's that for them. It's just about in the fourth, they're scoring. If they slack there, who are they going to stop? A lot, and it's tough. Those two teams are tricky though for me.
They're also a finesse team. How do we trust the Kings when it becomes physical basketball and you don't have the luxury of just the whistle they could get all the time or relying on 3-point shot as much. So
I don't think they're a finesse team. I think they're a physical team.
I think Sabonis is a very physical presence.
Sabonis leads league in rebounding.
Beyond that,
that's true. But
if the Lakers play the Kings in the first round, that officiating will be generous.
No,
I promise you that.
Don't sleep on Kevin Herter. Kevin Herter.
Sabonis is, but Kevin Herter, Fox, Keegan,
Kevin Herter,
Keegan Murray.
Oh boy,
they're mostly finesse guys.
Yeah. Sabonis helps him go left so much that he can steal so well.
No, he's gritty for sure, but the rest of the guys not as much.
Now, I do think that the wings are gonna have to be Keegan
Sabonis
Murray
and drop
Harrison
coverage.
Barnes to play defense.
That's tough.
Yeah, listen, the Kings' offense, they're historically great offense, and I think in the playoffs, offense matters a lot. And I think they'll get by.
But this is
what matters more in the playoff time, Griff? I'm sorry to cut you off, King. What matters more in the playoff time?
Offense matters more, in my opinion.
But they're a historically great offense that's never seen the playoffs. So it's
I think offense,
but their defense is so bad.
Yeah,
offense matters more. And I know people are going to use the stat about, teams that have won championships have a top 10 defense. Yeah, but they also have a top 10 offense. The only team that has been an average offensive team that's won a championship in recent history has been the Bucks. Cleveland was
a bad defense. Yeah,
our defense wasn't great.
So the Bucks offense was, not a great half-court offense, and they still managed to win a championship. But historically speaking, you have to have a great offensive team to win a championship. And your defense has to be top 10. It doesn't have to be great.
It can't be shit.
But it's bad. It's bad.
But we're not talking about the Kings. We're not talking about the Kings making the finals. We're talking.
I'll be honest. Nobody outside of the
Kings
Grizzlies,
making out
outside of the Grizzlies, nobody in the West has a elite defense.
Lakers. The Grizzlies and the Lakers.
The Lakers.
I'd say the
Lakers don't have. For me, the Lakers don't have enough games to say that they're.
But this is the thing, Riv, and this is my thing. The Lakers may have an elite defense recently, right? Their half-court offense still is average, below average, and their transition offense is still average to below average.
No, our transition offense is one of our best attributes, in my opinion.
Where does it rank this season?
Honestly, to me, I'll be completely transparent. It doesn't matter to me because when I watch
the facts don't matter.
Well, again, I'm telling you, we're not a bad transition team,
The Grizzlies are
they're great.
The Grizzlies are top 3 transition team in the NFL. I mean, in the NBA. My bad. In the NBA, and that's why for me, I'm like, okay, at least a facet of the Grizzlies offense is great. Is great. Where the Lakers, it doesn't seem like there's a clear cut thing offensively that is great about them.
Well, what's been great with us is the fact that our pick and roll is so strong. Of course, now that LeBron's back, the pick and roll is even dirtier now with Anthony Davis. We saw last game against the Timberwolves, the pick and roll between D'Lo and Anthony Davis, where D'Lo got to a point where it was, all right, I'm just giving the ball to Anthony Davis. But even still, D'Lo was able to get himself 10 assists himself. And now with the 3-point shooting that we have on this squad, yes, maybe the statistics show that we're not this great 3-point shooting team, but we've seen it since the deadline. D'Lo can knock down a shot. Reeves, of course, can knock down a shot. LeBron James is by no means a great 3-point shooter by any means, but of course, he can still knock down a 3 when you need him to. Dennis Schroeder's an okay 3-point shooter. Troy Brown, Malik Beasley, they're too streaky for my liking, but still, when they're on, we're just a really solid 3-point unit. And in terms of our transition offense, Reeves is really good in transition. Schroeder's really good in transition. Of course, we don't have to mention LeBron being great in transition himself. We have guys that get out and run, and I've watched it with my eyes. Honestly, that's why I tell you. You could tell me that we're not a great transition offense, but I've watched it. We are at our best when we are in transition.
Off live rebound.
I understand. I understand that. Like, okay, you're giving me moments. You're giving me moments of things that you've seen. But overall,
well, now that we're healthy, when LeBron back,
I understand. But you're giving me moments. Like overall, those moments that you saw, that you've seen, that equate to them being like this great team offensively, the stats don't back that up. Since February, which is, since they have this new look team, they're 13th in transition offense.
They haven't been healthy though,
which is still average. And then when we talk about
13th is
solid. LeBron makes that a lot better. Yeah, LeBron. If you're 13th without LeBron, I feel pretty okay with that.
Then when we talk about half court offense, you guys rank 23rd. So it's not the Grizzlies have an elite component offensively, which is their transition offense. The Lakers don't have any component that is truly elite.
I think I'm telling you. But they haven't been healthy though, so I think those numbers are kind of skewed because they're starting their full team after the deadline has played like 5-6 games maybe. So those numbers are like fluctuated up and down.
You can say that for the Grizzlies too.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Grizzlies also, but the Grizzlies, we know even if Ja goes out by committee, they can still do the same exact things. With the Lakers, it's kind of like they brought in a new team, they didn't get to play with the new team, so they don't really still know what they are offensively.
I would say the
Lakers are top 7 in transition this season. Also,
the who
since February,
the Lakers.
Oh, I think you said the Rockets.
The Lakers are third off live rebounds and 7th in frequency per clean glass, which is pretty good.
Since February, they're 13th, which is the new look.
So
Lakers.
Since February, with LeBron James only playing 3 of those games
with their new players.
But again, with LeBron James only playing 3 games,
are we acting like Russell Westbrook does not help transition offense?
A lot. Okay. He helps
again. He does, but it's LeBron James.
Yeah, but he's not on the team anymore. I am using their offense with your players.
With LeBron James only playing 3 of those games.
Okay, but still, I think that's
far
better.
So we dropped
far better sample.
6 spots.
I feel like that's a far better metric to use your team now versus the entire season when Westbrook was there for half the year. At least when it comes to transition offense.
Again, with LeBron James playing, I feel a lot more comfortable with us. I see us, again, in these last couple of games. You're saying moments. I'm letting it be known that we have been very solid in transition essentially all season. You're right. Russell Westbrook definitely does help that.
He was talking about pick and roll. That's half-court offense. You guys have been mid.
No, but now LeBron James is back. Anthony Davis has been phenomenal in his own right. D'Angelo Russell now gets added to that mix. D'Angelo Russell has been doing a very fine job in his own right. Now that LeBron's back, now you can really start to evaluate us in a way that, because we're talking about contenders, and that's what the Lakers are.
My bad.
Jack, you wanted to mention something?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, off vibes, I believe in the Lakers in transition.
Off vibes, baby.
Like whatever the stats say.
Jack, you're my guy for life because that statement alone.
Yeah, no,
fire.
like, I mean, and what they're saying, 13th without LeBron, I believe it. LeBron, I mean, in transition, he's nasty, and I really don't like to support the Lakers that much. They got
not at all. I hate it.
Clearly, I mean, but.
I'm the only one that supports him on this podcast, Jack.
You're doing a good job. We've been talking about him for 15 minutes.
Yeah, right. Lake show. Because the Lakers need representation and not enough love.
They don't get enough representation. Be so serious. We talk about 20 minutes every basketball.
Not on this podcast.
So
not enough for my liking.
Contender tiers in the East. This is my 5. Let me know if this is your guys' 5. I have 1 the Bucks, 2 the Celtics, 3 the Sixers, 4 the Cavs, and 5 the Knicks. Basically, the seeding that it's 1 through 5.
I'm surprised you didn't
put
Philly
Butler,
over us.
put them at 5.
Listen, I think Philly can beat you guys in the playoff series.
No, they can't. Be so serious.
Listen, if everything
you can
clicks,
keep praying.
If James Harden finally goes on a historic playoff run,
finally,
that rivals the likes of Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade. You know,
He has
every
all-time playoff
every
series.
all-time great has something.
You're hallucinating. That's not happening.
If James Harden can do it, man, or Joel Embiid, you know, who knows?
I believe in Embiid in the playoffs. My big concern with Philly is like, I think when you get into the playoffs, especially deeper than they have been, you're gonna have to start hitting tough shots where like the spots where you create contact and like get to the line turn into spots where you have to hit tough shots. And Joel Embiid is a tough shot maker, no question. And I think James Harden is too. But like my question is just like mentally going from trying to get to the line into trying to make those shots. Is that going to be like a seamless transition or is that going to be rocky? Because if it's rocky, then I could see that offense kind of plateauing a little bit.
Yeah. I'll give my top 5 next. I got Celtics at 1, pretty obvious. Number 2, below the Celtics, are the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, the team that has lost by 40 points and 20 points to the Celtics this season. 3, Philly. Then there's a bit of a gap. You have the Cavs at 4, and the Knicks 5. The Knicks are a feisty team. The Cavs are too. I just have a hard time believing they could get past the Bucks or Celtics in the 7-game series. We went out to dinner this past weekend, and Alvaro, who's a huge Knicks fan, we were sitting next to each other, and he was telling me how the Knicks could be anybody in the East. I said, "Oh, you think you could go to the finals?" He said, "Yes, we could go to the finals." So I don't know if that's what most Knicks fans think, or it's just Alvaro being a delusional Knicks fan. But I know there's there's some love out there for the Knicks. But the East seems a lot more clear. It's going to be a Celtics-Bucks ECF. The Bucks likely will have the 1 seed, so they'll have home court advantage. But if the regular season tells us anything what the postseason is going to be, the Celtics might not need 7 games. They might get it done before that. Philly is going to be a tough team in the second round, but if they go up against Boston, who has had their number year after year after year, Celtics probably get that done in 6. Cavs, Knicks, that's going to be probably the most exciting first-round matchup we have. They just handled them on Friday night. Knicks won by double digits.
And Brunson
really
outplayed Mitchell.
Control that whole game. I don't know who I'm going to pick in that series, but the East is a lot more clear to me than the West.
Oh, yeah, no question. The East, I have the same top 5 as you guys. I hate counting Jimmy Butler out with the Heat. I mean, like, they stink a little bit this year. At times, they do not look very good, but I don't know. Something happens in the playoffs. I can see the Heat maybe making it tough for a first-round team. But, yeah, Boston,
They
Bucks.
probably play the Celtics round 1.
Was there a thought about putting the Heat over the Knicks at the 5 spot?
No.
Yes, absolutely.
I hesitated. I hesitated because if Julius Randle stinks again, then the Heat could be a better first-round
Let him
team
know.
than the Knicks.
Let him shoot against Atlanta. Let him shoot against
John,
They're
Atlanta.
like the
John,
26th ranked offense in the league.
John, relax, because I understand.
What has Jimmy Butler done in the playoffs? He clears.
I just said,
Julius
did I not
Randle.
just say to relax?
Eric Spoelstra clears Tom Thibodeau. Like,
John, I just said
these
to
are the
relax.
Offense is so
The Heat
ass.
don't have a point
Especially
guard.
against the
They
Celtics.
can't score points.
Like,
Dehls, you don't want that smoke. You do not want to go Jimmy Butler. You saw it last year.
We'd
You
win
know
in
what? They
5.
called
I'll give
Masters
JB a
in
game.
line 'cause they're going to send you home, and they would have went to the finals the second time.
Just like we didn't want the
Celtics
smoke
would've went
against
to 0. The
Brooklyn
Celtics
last
and the
year.
rest of like the Lakers. You know the deal.
Okay.
And you
So,
know what, the Heat
I'm-
team, I think not having a point guard really does stink. But if you have Tyler Hero at point guard with Jimmy Butler and Bam, that 3 with
Sounds
Eric
like shit.
Spoelstra, I trust a lot more than Tom Thibodeau, who's got a shit playoff record. Same with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, who I love, but I just don't trust Julius Randle.
What
And I
about Josh
shouldn't
Hart?
until I see it.
I want to trust Julius Randle. I'll be back on the train if he is good in the playoffs. I like his game. He's fun to watch, but Atlanta hurt me. I mean, I'm not. Yeah.
And this ankle injury is going to take him up
It
right
hurt
until
everyone.
probably the first game. He's supposed to be
Yeah.
out 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And Miami's offense is playing well as of late. It's actually been their defense that has
John,
really
stop.
stunk over the last month.
But
Stop.
we have like a 6-month
Do some research, Riff.
John, enough.
Do your
I'm gonna
own
be honest.
research.
I believe in Brooklyn Bridges before I believe in the Heat.
That's also cap. But John, stop. Enough.
Mikel
No,
and
their
Cam
defense has been
Johnson.
really stinky as of late.
Nah,
The Heat-
they're-
the Heat- I trust the Heat to not get swept and make it up.
Correct.
They'll get a game. They'll get a
No one
game.
wants to play them.
Don't sleep on Dinwiddie.
They're not the Nets of last year. You know, they have a
Dinwiddie?
chance to get a game.
Dinwiddie's been averaging 9 assists since he's been in Brooklyn.
What's
You
his
just
field
give
goal?
the
You just
What's
give
his
the ball
field
to
goal
Mikal
percentage?
Bridges.
What's his field goal percentage in Brooklyn?
Let me search it up.
Fans
right
have
now.
been complaining about Dinwiddie getting the ball and playing for them.
I
Yeah,
know.
he's-
I don't know why, because he's averaging 8.5 assists. He's shooting 41% from the field and 30% from 3.
That's fucking crap. It's crap.
Like it's Dinwiddie numbers, but he's averaging 8.5 assists per game.
That feels worse than Dinwiddie numbers. Like I feel like he's usually better than that.
I feel like Dinwiddie.
Yeah, he
He's
is.
back to his wizard form. He's
Dinwiddie-
back to prime wizard Spencer Dinwiddie.
Nah,
I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
Wizards is
Joel.
different. Bad.
Joel, I'll be honest. I watched Dinwiddie play like live and shit, and I understand the 9 assists. I don't know how I feel about it though, because sometimes in the fourth quarter he takes shots away from Bridges. He
Yeah.
tries to go hero ball, and it's kind of laughable.
Listen, you gotta admire the confidence.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. You guys are fucking hilarious. I'll be honest. There isn't 5 contenders in the East. The fact that y'all even could name 5 was crazy to me. I have
That's
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, I have 3.5.
2.5 actually. It's
The
not
Cavaliers. The
Cavs are the
number 3.
half. The Cavs
Oh,
are the half.
Cavs are definitely the half.
Yeah, the Cavs are the half. I'll be honest.
Are the
I have,
Cavs beating the Knicks in the first round?
Yeah, I have the Cavs beating the Knicks in the first round.
What are the odds that like I was talking to my cousin about this? We were walking to get some ramen, and I was telling him, "Listen, man, if we face the Cavs in the first round, it is a bad matchup for Randall, given that Mobley probably would be his matchup in assignment." And I was like, "What are the odds that like Evan Mobley just has this breakout series against like Randall? Like he just fucking dominates defensively. He's averaging like 20 and 10."
Were we
And
not
I'm just
saying
like,
this and you just threw it away? Did we
nah,
not
but
say
I mean,
that
as
Mobley's
a
gonna be
Knicks
guarding
fan,
Randall?
I expect moments like this because usually things like that happen. And I'm just like, damn it, man. Mobley is really gonna have his like Mobley's gonna have his like coming out party to the rest of the league, potentially against the Knicks in the first round. Like I can definitely see that happening.
So
Like Roy Hibbert.
I got Boston, the Bucks, Philly's my third, and Cleveland's my half.
Who would you lean right now, Boston or Milwaukee?
Oh, that
Milwaukee.
ass woman put pain in me. I was
Milwaukee.
watching that shit like
I'm going Milwaukee personally.
you know what it is with Milwaukee? That matchup specifically, I don't like the Bucks wings against the Jays. I really don't. Like as much as as much as they're good, they're like the Jays really like they cannot guard the rim at will. Like it's a mismatch with any wing that the Bucks have. It's a literal mismatch. Jay Crowder, Chris Middleton.
Crowder was getting cooked.
Wesley
Ingles was getting cooked.
Like no matter who you want to throw on them.
I feel bad for Joe Ingles. Like I feel bad that he has to guard Jason Tatum.
Like if it's not Drew Holiday, I don't think you should be comfortable with any wing, including Chris Middleton, guarding the Jays.
Yeah.
But they have Giannis. Rob Will, he did look great last game, but Al Horford, that front court is still skinny to me. It's still really small. So Giannis, it should have his way. That one's tough. I don't know who I'd lean. I would say I'm probably 50-50 at the moment on both teams. It can go either way. But I think those are the two clear-cut teams.
Yeah.
Philly's the third team for me. I think that Philly can match up well against the Bucks. That's a series that they match up really, really well against the Bucks. Boston a little bit, but just Boston has owned Philly for so long. It's hard. But Boston's front court is skinny, and Embiid could have a field series in that matchup.
Yeah.
You would like to see James Harden in that matchup. If Boston gets back to that defensive ways, though, that's a tough series for Philly. But Milwaukee, I think Maxey Harden could have a field day with those wings. I think they can really have an offensive explosion. If Philly could sneak. Cleveland for me is a half because outside of Donovan Mitchell, who do you trust? JB Bickerstaff even. He's fresh. He's new in this situation as a playoff. They don't have a lot of wing depth.
You don't trust Garland?
Garland's fresh. He's new.
Yeah,
you don't know what you're going to get out of him.
You're right. And his last game against Atlanta was stinky, so I get it.
This is Rich coming from the LaMelo Ball supporter.
All right, fair point.
Yeah, but I don't see the Knicks as a contender. I think they're really good. I think they'll make any series tough.
Yeah,
I don't see them as a contender. Miami, no. Atlanta, hell no. Chicago, fuck no. The rest of those teams, no.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you said it perfectly. And before we go on to the next segment, a quick word from Athletic Greens. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside. That's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. And Drew, on your trip to Disney, have you taken some of these travel packs with you?
So unfortunately, I have not, which would have been a great idea, right? Traveling. But bro, I told you how I like to have my AG1. I like to have my AG1 with my protein, with my protein shakes. And I'm not going to carry a blender with me But I'll tell you what, it's made a huge difference. My stomach is just not right. Without my AG1, there's no these.
You know, I could have definitely used AG1 given what it's done. It's done wonders for your stomach because the last couple of days I've been having a bubble guts.
Nah, on everything, bro. My stomach is cooked, especially with the travel, bro. It just, oh my god, I pulled it. I should have brought it and just mixed it with the water to champ it.
Yesterday I drove 2 hours to my girlfriend's family's house, and like an hour and 30 minutes in, I needed to go bad. I needed to go. And we were finding gas stations. We stopped by a Walgreens first. Then, we get out the car and I'm walking and I go to the restroom. Yes. I'm like, oh my God, you already know, like once your stomach starts bubbling and the poop is like near your ass, and it's close. I'm just walking and I look at the bathroom door of Walgreens and it says this is out of order until like 6:30. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, damn it. And I could already feel the shit coming out. I was like, fuck, bro. So we had to go find a nearby gas station. And, I just let it all out. It was a close call, though. I'm talking about like once I'm taking my pants off, like it's already going down.
You don't even touch the toilet.
All right.
That's
one of those right as you're squatting, it's just the absolute waterfall of shit coming out.
That's exactly how it felt. I was like, fuck,
wild.
bro.
We need our AG1, man. We need to get regulated. Our bowels need that help, bro. That's why we folded.
5 seconds later, I would have been done for.
Travel's tough, bro. That takes a toll on my stomach too, man. I hate that.
Next time I'm not eating anything before I travel because I fucked up because I ate Jack in the Box. I ate a chicken wrap with like ranch.
You have the tacos? You see Jack in the Box has tacos?
Yeah, I didn't try it yet. I had the fucking wrap because I love snack wraps and McDonald's doesn't serve them anymore.
Yeah, facts.
But Jack in the Box has like a similar wrap, and I think the ranch fucked up my stomach.
God, the mental image thinking of eating chickens out. Oh my God. And then he mutes his mic again. You're fucking cracking me up.
I can't believe we skipped over the Celtics.
Why?
How they're concerning in the playoffs.
What's our concern, John? Talk to me.
They take the second most threes in the league at 44%, and their 3-point variance in the playoffs is a pretty big concern in that Bucks series. Because when the shots aren't falling and they're not clicking on all cylinders, and they got to get to the rim against Brook Lopez and Giannis, that's probably a bigger concern, I would think, by the end of a 7-game series than Jay Crowder matched up 1-1 on the Jades.
What the Celtics have that makes it so difficult for the Bucks, and we saw it a couple nights ago, is that when we have Al at the 5 and we have our Smart, White, Tatum, JB, Brook Lopez can't just sit in the paint. He has to respect Al for his 3-point shot. He's shooting 45% from 3 this season.
That's true.
So it makes it – that's why it's even harder for these wings to guard the Jays, because Brook Lopez and Giannis, who have been saving them all season long, they have to respect the shooting of the Celtics. Even if it's not going in, you still can't leave them open because you have some of the best 3-point shooters on the league on this Boston team. So the variance, of course, is a question. But, I mean, you go across the NBA, you can make that argument for a lot of teams. If they're not hitting their threes, they're probably not going to win the game. Bucks are different, obviously, because they're so reliant on Giannis getting to the rim. But still, you have Brook Lopez, who's been one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Middleton could get his, even though he's been a bit streaky.
This guy and his Walmart Wi-Fi. His Walmart Wi-Fi kills
My
me.
goodness.
This guy makes too much money to have shit Wi-Fi.
Not to mention, John.
Here we go.
John, did you not see last game they built the wall of China around Giannis, and it worked. Like the literal wall of China, and it worked.
You know what, though, Riff?
But Middleton being back is huge, though, and that's a big thing. We said it last season too. With Middleton being out, we felt if Middleton played, it's a different series. We think Milwaukee has it. I'll say this though. Why I am hesitant is because I believe in Jason Tatum, obviously, but his inconsistency.
Who owns Milwaukee?
He does. Milwaukee. He does. When he plays Milwaukee, it's the Jason Tatum that we know and we respect as a top 6, top 7 player in the association. Absolutely. But with just if they're going to play that lineup of Al Horford, then yes, I agree. Offense becomes very simplified for the Boston Celtics, and then you take away Milwaukee's strong suit, which is defense. They're one of the best defenses in the game. But it becomes concerning of, are we going to get Tatum every single night to be the Jason Tatum that he showed last season against Milwaukee? But is Jason Tatum just going to have one of those random moments where you need him most It's just that it's not his night. Shots are not hitting. And against Milwaukee, you can't have a fuck up like that. You can't have a fold. Milwaukee's going to be on 10, defensively sound every single night. And then when it comes to defending Giannis, yes, you do have that wall there, but now that Middleton's there, it relieves some pressure. And if Drew's hitting, then that also relieves some pressure. That trio together is the reason why last season, if they're together, I feel like they would have gone past the Boston Celtics. This season, with them playing a lot better, more concise basketball since Middleton's been back, then this starts to be where I feel a pulling of my heartstrings, and I think I just got to lean Milwaukee at this point.
Drew,
How do you have heartstrings for the Celtics if you're a Lakers fan?
ooh,
You know,
He's
as
LeBron.
soon as I said,
Oh my God.
as soon as I said
LeBron.
heartstrings, I knew that statement was going to come out. But it's in terms of where my mind's at, where my heart's at, how I feel like which way is this series going to go.
Drew.
So it's the wrong word, but
Question,
that's
Drew.
fine.
Tatum's been on a heater. Tatum these last 7-8 games
he's
has
been
been
back.
efficient.
He's
been
been back.
30 plus.
Dehls,
I
this
feel,
is also-
how
this is
often
also
do we
a
do this
question for
though?
you.
How often do we do that with Tatum? And I'm sorry, Riv, and then we can get to you. How often do we do that with? Right, Tatum is, again, in my opinion, one of the best players in the association, absolutely no doubt. But it's Tatum just had a shitter. Why do we do that? So, like, I feel like relatively. Let me not say relatively.
Have you seen what
every now
Giannis
and
shoots
then
against the Celtics his last 10 games? Giannis
What
is
is it, like
inefficient
40-ish?
every single time. He's like 40% or less these last 10 games. So
Um,
we can talk about Tatum. Giannis is gonna get his 30, but he's gonna do it on 28 shots.
No. We're gonna
I
talk
get
about
it.
Tatum, and this is where my question is leaning towards. Not really a question, but Dehls and Drew, you guys are very big Tatum guys on the show. You guys are the Tatum
Fucking
guys.
Tatum, OD.
You and Drew, you mentioned it. You said you don't like the fact that sometimes he can become inconsistent. Can we just not say this is just who Jason Tatum is as a player that's gonna have the
He's
stinkers,
25.
gonna have the
He's
Kind of like James
25.
Harden.
Stop it. He's 25, which is why I give him the benefit of the doubt. I still think that you can change that as you grow. He's still a young, developing player.
He's 25, but he has the game log of a 40-year-old. So it's like, yes, he's 25, but he has so much game log in him. I think, like, in terms of like him and who his player arcs are, and the guys within his tier, T-Mac, like people who he's built his game around of, they've all been known as inconsistent guys. Like at the moment, they have their stinkers. Paul George, Tracy McGrady, like they've known to have their stinkers and their inconsistencies. I think this is just
Steph Curry, 2016.
I think this is just who Jason Tatum is as a player. Like he's gonna have that stinker, especially the way his shot diet is. He's a very high variant, take threes. He's a jumper guy. He's just gonna have those inconsistencies, and you have to kind of just live with that. And that's where Jaylen Brown comes into play, where he comes and he picks up the slack.
So I've just been putting these super chats in and just some statements that they've been making. This is a good question though. If the over/under for Luka championships was 2.5 for his career, are you taking
Under.
the under?
No, I'd probably go under.
I would probably
Yeah,
go
I'd
under
probably
as
take
well.
the under.
Because you're going to have to
so
build
much
the
right.
absolute perfect team that can coexist with Luka Doncic.
What if he
You
goes
need
to
so
the
much
Nets?
to go right.
Fuck that, winning the chip is hard. I don't know.
Yeah,
about
you
that.
need so much to
You
go
need
right,
luck to win a chip on
Yeah.
top of everything. Like
I'm gonna go
If they
under.
would have changed it to 1.5, like 1.5, then we're sitting actually like.
I feel like his line's at like 2. Is he gonna get
yeah,
more than 2?
it's-
I feel like
yeah.
2 is like the number he'll
3
do.
championships though is a lot.
It is.
2023 Hall of Fame inductees. This is one of the better classes we've seen. Before I get into the players, we'll talk about Greg Popovich making it. Becky Hammond making it for sure. 4 players made it. Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade, they're finalists. Tony Parker and Pau Gasol. We're gonna rank these guys' careers, and I think that there's 2 tiers that it goes into. There's the Dirk and Wade tier, then there's the Parker and Gasol tier. So we'll start with the Dirk and Wade tier. Between Dirk and Wade, who do you think had a better career?
Dirk. I'm on the Dirk train. Like I feel like if you want to go peak, Wade is right there, even like over Dirk if you want. That's no problem. But once you really start looking at like how long the Dallas Mavericks were good for with Dirk Nowitzki as the foundation of their team, and like just it's also how much injuries took a toll on Wade post like 2013, 2014. I think that back half of each career, Dirk really starts to pull away from him a little bit.
I think Dirk had the better career too. I'm gonna side with you on this. I think for one, he had the longer prime. He's the only one between the two that has an MVP, which is huge. And Dirk got payback on Wade for the 06 finals. You know, Wade had his moment, his legacy moment in 06, but so did Dirk in 2011. He had his legacy moment in that finals as well. And I just really, what separates these two for me is that Dirk, his influence on European basketball is so grand, where I don't think that Wade had the same type of influence worldwide that Dirk had on the game of basketball. You know, Wade was a great player, but Dirk, you know, he was one of the first players to come overseas, and, you know, he changed a bit of the perception of overseas players. And I think that matters a lot in this conversation.
Man, this is tough.
This one's close. This is close.
It's very close.
It's
Let me
tough.
say that. Yeah.
Just to get a little love to D Wade, you know, coming in, the stuff he did after his year one, people really don't remember. You know, going to the ECF, playing the Detroit Pistons, giving them hell. Next year, gets Shaq, won the title, down 2-0. You know, had a historic finals. Then after that, you know, teams wasn't good, but he backpacked. You know, he led his team 1 year. I think the year he could have maybe won MVP if the team was better. Led the team is what, points, rebounds, steals, assists. He was like 38-8, some shit like that. I think it was like 08, 09. He was amazing. And like you mentioned, even before 2013, like I think his knees started breaking down in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Like he really, D Wade is so sad for him because he had a short peak because his knees just couldn't handle it anymore. But Joel made a lot of good points. You know, Dirk's impact on overseas basketball is so broad. You know, I think peak for peak, I would take D Wade pretty easily. You know, I think the two-way play, the fact that he was such a menace at the rim, you couldn't stop him. His ability to manipulate pick and rolls was just different. I would take him for peak, but career, Dirk has the MVP. He did get the payback in 2000. That was a better. He essentially beat the big three. You know, that's no slouch performance. You know, he beat a team with LeBron, D Wade would probably had another Finals MVP if somebody didn't choke. But you know, I'm not gonna just sit here and gloss over that. I'm gonna just move on from that. I would probably because like
Riv, I'm with you though, Riv. I feel like your heart wants to go Dwayne Wade, and these two guys going Dirk, which you guys gave very valid arguments. I'm with you. What for me, it's peak for peak. I think D Wade had the higher peak when Dwayne Wade was at his best. We're talking about a guy who led the league in points, was probably his best case for MVP that year, that 08-09 season. He does have 4 less All-NBAs, so that's another thing that carries over to Dirk having the better longevity. Yeah. I just think two-way ability, just immediate impact to a team. Not that Dirk didn't have that, because of course he did. But that 06 season, no one expected Dwayne Wade to be the guy of that 03 draft class to be the first one to win a championship. They looked at guys like Melo, of course. Not that Dwayne Wade was some slouch, of course not. But it was thought to be that Melo, LeBron would be the first to do it. And then here comes Dwayne Wade with a historic performance in the playoffs and, of course, the finals as well. And, Riv, I'm not going to hide from that fact, too. 2011, that 2010-2011 finals, Dwayne Wade's probably looking at another finals MVP right there. He was unbelievable. And also, I will say that 2012 series against OKC, he was great, too. That was the Dwayne Wade that was the Dwayne and LeBron that we had expected to see together. It was unfortunate that his knees went down and that his knees could not hold up for his game. But the athleticism, the two-way ability, the great scoring, that even though he wasn't a great three-point shooter, his ability to get to the rim, his mid-range game, I just feel like for all around, I'm going to go Dwayne Wade.
Wade County, man. He runs Miami. Like you
mentioned overseas. Hakeem still comes to mind. Arvydas Sabonis, that's another guy that comes to mind.
He was past his prime.
No doubt. But Arvydas was still very good in the NBA.
He was like 35 though, bro.
I think Dirk
is the guy though.
I think Dirk is more impactful than Hakeem.
And Hakeem overseas, I get it, but when we're talking about like strictly white Europeans and the stereotype around that they're not very good, a lot of that changed when Dirk came to the league.
Not going to discredit that at all. Tony Kukoc was probably the first, but nowhere near the skill level of Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah. I have Wade over Dirk too. Not just the rings, like obviously 3-1, but as Drew mentioned, two-way player, like defensively 3 All-NBA defensive teams. Like scoring wise, like offensively, they were obviously different players, right? Like Dirk's primarily post player who was hitting threes. Wade was more of a guy that's getting to the rim more. Could have a pull-up jumper, but never really like a 3-point shooter. Like career, I think he's under 30% still. But I agree. Like there's kind of a tier between the top two guys, and then Powell and and Tony Parker would get to. But I would probably just lean Wade a bit over because of more rings and defensively, he's giving you more than Dirk.
It's easier to play with LeBron, man.
But
whoa. LeBron
Let's give
Merchant?
D-Wade
Is that what D-Wade's career is?
Before
LeBron
Steph
Merchant?
calling KD,
The second half of it is definitely that.
you got to give D-Wade more
He was
credit.
still
for
great.
taking on
It's like
LeBron.
LeBron's obviously the best player, but
And if LeBron ain't go to Miami, Dwayne Wade's a first round exit for the rest of his career.
Dirk
keep it a
won
buck.
an
I feel like they
MVP. Hold on,
figured
hold
out
on.
with
Dirk won an
something at
MVP
some
and blew a
point.
3-1
Maybe.
lead.
But think about it.
LeBron also left, and they go to the second round that year.
If Chris Bosh was able to play, they could have made an
Lost them
ECF
off
run.
after
in
LeBron.
2006.
Dirk won
Yeah,
MVP
yeah.
and lost to an 8th seed.
Schwell doesn't want to talk about that though.
Yeah, I understand that.
We gotta give
He won
Dwayne Wade
MVP
credit
still,
for
though.
establishing Miami.
He lost to the We Believe
if
Warriors.
Jokic wins MVP and loses in the first round, we're all calling him frauds.
Yeah.
Dirk lost to the We Believe Warriors.
Yeah, but
Jack, you might have to create a new TikTok account if that.
Dude, I could not. If the Nuggets lost specifically to the Lakers in the first round, I legitimately would take like a month-long break from social media. Like I could not mentally handle that right now.
It could be a reality.
I know. That's why I'm
Hopefully
picking the
it's not,
standings
'cause I don't
every
wanna
day.
be
I'm like, oh, Lakers won last night.
We should have talked about this. We should have talked about this in the last segment, Jack. But what do you think about the Nuggets? Like, what is their ceiling? Who don't you want to see in the first round?
I would hate to see the Lakers in the first round. That would suck. Ideal scenario, we catch like the Thunder in the first round. Like the Thunder win the play-in tournament or something like that. Grab the 8 seed. Yeah, the Lakers would suck because like I really for all like the transition offense, blah blah blah. I believe in them. Jared Vanderbilt is awful to have as like a supplementary defender for Jokic. Like if you could throw AD at him and then have Vanderbilt helping over in the post and make the 4 other guys beat you. I haven't seen enough out of Jamal Murray this season to really like believe that's going to be an easy win. Michael Porter Jr. is sick, but if the ball movement isn't really good, Michael Porter Jr. is taking a lot of contested threes.
Saying he's overrated is so
Michael
nuts.
Porter Jr. is so overrated.
The narrative that MPJ just gets the ball and shoots is hilarious to me. Like he doesn't know how to pass.
I mean, he
doesn't.
He doesn't know how to pass.
I know. It's hilarious.
I made a video where he made one good pass. It got 10K likes. It was easy. It's like, I mean, I was like, oh my god, this is the first like actual dime I've ever seen him make. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's got a cult following that will let you hear about him.
He does.
No question.
if he's the first option, he's averaging 25.
On a 13-1 team.
He's a superstar.
Yeah, that's too much. I'm like, Jokic is the perfect spot for him to be next to.
Hell
'Cause,
yeah,
like, if
for
he's
sure.
putting the ball on the ground the whole game, he's averaging 5 turnovers a game.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that. Like, he just doesn't handle the ball well.
And those injuries really killed his feel over those years. He never was able to develop that in his early 20s. And now we get to a point where the lack of reps, along with being stiff in the upper body, that kind of kills him.
He's really like stiff and janky mover. Like he moves all
John B pulling up with the context behind players' development. Like, 3 years ago when he had those life problems, it really deterred his development. Wasn't able to get into the gym like that.
I know.
But the Suns, Jack, that matchup in the second round would petrify me.
Oh, absolutely. I woke up the night that it happened. I randomly woke up at 4 a.m. I just opened my phone, checked Twitter. I saw the Woj tweet that said the trade went down. I could not sleep for the rest of the night. I was just like,
Why?
the West the Lakers still stunk back then. Like the West was ours, and all this shit went down after that. And I mean, I know it's the middle of the season at that point. I shouldn't have been counting my ducks before they hatch or whatever. But yeah, that stinks.
And then the Nuggets started to play kind of shitty.
Oh my lord, bro. Dude, that 6-game win streak or loss streak where we lost to the Spurs. That's the lowest I've been in a minute. That was tough.
At least we knew they weren't trying to
Celtics went through the same shit. We lost to the Rockets. We lost like 3 in a row, and
I
the
remember
season's
that
over.
Rockets
We're losing in the
loss.
first round.
Nah, that Rockets W, I was cooking. Oh my god, like bro, when they lost, I was like, yeah, it's
the
up for
season's
them.
done. Oh my god,
That was probably the lowest I was too when the Lakers lost to the Rockets.
Bro, when the Rockets went back to back, I'm like, yup, heater making the playoffs.
My goodness. Teams lose to the Rockets. It's just awful. But that's why Dehls is so adamant about the Celtics now, because that losing streak You know, he was hearing about it. Twitter was cooking him. Then, you know, they beat the Bucks. Oh, look at us
They beat
now.
the shit out
Yeah.
the
I would be flexing that Bucks win too.
Oh my,
I
we
mean,
smoked them.
yeah.
No, that shit was bad, bro. It was really
Bro,
bad.
second quarter game was over. We went to half.
Yeah,
up
that was
30.
OD.
And with the Bucks, that's a team that is never throwing a game. Like they pull up. If Giannis and Drew and everyone is playing, they are going 100%. And so like, and they've been pretty good on back-to-backs. I know we mentioned it was 5 games in 7 days or whatever. They had a really good record on like back-to-backs when they played the Nuggets, and the Nuggets won. And it's probably a little worse now, obviously, with the Celtics loss and everything. But they're a tough out, no matter like what the context of the game is.
Yeah.
When it comes to Tony Parker and Pau Gasol, where do you have these two ranked?
Oh, I got Tony Parker comfortably.
I got Tony Parker as well.
I think
Comfortably is rude.
Okay, let me
Comfortably
ask
is
you. All
rude.
right, all right, all right.
I would say you got a Lakers jersey.
Pau
You know,
Gasol
that
is
has Dehls.
an Olympic gold
Okay.
medalist, bruh.
We all
Yeah,
right.
put
Listen,
respect on him.
Y'all gonna let me go? or
I
y'all-
hate when y'all to me. You're talking about Laker legend. How can you not be higher on Kobe? What are you disrespecting Pau Gasol for? That has absolutely nothing to do with the stance. It's just with the fact that Tony Parker was a great basketball player on an all-time great dynasty of the San Antonio Spurs, was a final MVP as well. The year that the Spurs lost to the Heat when, of course, LeBron, Ray Allen. I apologize. Because they're calling me out. They called me out. So I had
But
to,
next to your name, it should say Lakers fan ETC since 2019.
That's fine. Who's your favorite team?
The Knicks.
Oh, do we know that for sure?
Yes, I have a
That's
jersey.
up in the
I have a
air.
Carmelo Anthony jersey when I was like 11 years old.
Sure. So do I actually.
I
Does
have
that
a
make
Julius.
me a
I
Knicks
have
fan?
I bought a Julius Randle jersey.
I'm
Can
a
we
Carmelo
respect-
Anthony Syracuse jersey. I'm a deeper
that's
fan
it.
than you, bro.
I need
Um,
that. I need that.
I'd probably go. I feel like Tony Parker and Pau Gasol, they're just barely on different levels. I view Tony Parker at his best as like a fringe, like way back end, but still in the MVP conversation just because the Spurs were so good. And Pau Gasol at his best, more like just a high level All NBA kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think Pau Gasol is my favorite player on this list. I love Pau Gasol. I love the dumb little transition
No
pass
doubt.
he had and everything. But yeah, I do. I would take Tony Parker.
I mean,
over
when you
him.
talk about like Tony Parker is the second best player on a dynasty for like over 18 years. You know, like
My hot take was Manu is better.
I mean, that's fine. Manu was great, so I'm not going to disrespect Manu at all. But you know, Tony did win Finals MVP. He was the guy that initiated the offense, the pick and roll with him and Tim Duncan. He was vital to that. The clutch scoring. Tony
that
Parker
little
was the guy that
floater
gave the
he
score.
had,
Yeah.
that's iconic.
Nah,
bro.
Tony's floater was
And
crazy.
he wasn't
footwork.
no slouch. This is a guard that was in the West with a lot of West guards, and he was giving them the business.
That's
Yeah.
a fact.
I gotta lean Tony, man. The chips, the dynasty, like he was the consistent. It wasn't just Tim Duncan; it was him, Manu,
No.
Tony Parker. But Tony Parker was a consistent point guard for 2 decades for a dynasty.
And-
Any
and
era,
like
like,
how-
the 2000s, the slow paced era. Then they brought in the funk. The late 2000s, the Lakers. You had Denver, you had Dallas. Tony Parker was still there, and then the new era with OKC coming in. They had Westbrook, the high flyer, but Tony Parker was still consistently there. So I lean Tony for this one.
And that's what I was going to say. That Heat Finals, Tony Parker was the Spurs' best player. I never feared a player on the Spurs the way I feared Tony Parker that year. He, every single night, it did not matter what. I'll never forget it. That floater that he took fading to the sideline as regulation was about to go out. I remember it leaving his hand into my mind saying, we lost. And it was a horrible shot. It was nowhere near going in. But that's how much I feared and respected Tony Parker. He was unbelievable that series. And I remember him hitting that 3 that put the Spurs up 5. That was a
Remember
fucked
when he made LeBron pump
series
fake
for
and
me.
hit the mid range off the backboard?
Say that one more time.
When he was playing LeBron, they finally put LeBron on him. That's how great he is. And then
Yeah, he did.
LeBron was hacking him for 30 seconds in the shot
He
clock.
was.
And then he made LeBron do a pump fake and hit it right off.
Because
the
that's
backboard.
that's what I was saying. He hit the 3 over LeBron James to put him up 5. I was like, bro, what is he on?
When I
LeBron
think
can't
about
guard.
Pau Gasol, I think about Game 7, 2010, when his rebounding performance and his and 1 bucket over KG was just.
I bet that's what you remember.
Just a monster. Them just destroying the Celtics just warmed my heart so much, man. Shit.
You're disgusting.
So I think we can group two topics in together because I feel like they have like the same substance behind it. So Kevin Durant had an interview with Shams, and it was a
Shams?
very Shams. It was a very disappointing interview, I would say. I didn't feel like I got like much out of it outside of KD, basically talking about how much he hates when people talk about his legacy. And
Brave.
KD said, when it comes to me, people are not going to think in a logical way or simply look at what I've done and say that's it. They got to add a narrative to it. They got to push something to discredit me. Once I left to go to the Warriors, it's been the gymnastics on how to discredit me every step of the way. And I think this goes hand in hand with kind of like the MVP straw poll we were going to have on this show, because Embiid is winning the straw poll currently. But even him recently, he's come out with some comments that, like, at the timing of the season looks very odd to come out with. Like, Embiid recently just said that winning championships isn't all that matters. And I think that we're kind of seeing this wave of like superstar players coming out and saying like, listen, it's not that important. You know what I'm saying? Win a championship. Yeah, it'd be nice to have, but let's stop putting so much weight on it. And I don't know how you guys feel about like superstars basically not valuing these championships as much as they probably were once before.
Kevin Durant.
Like, I feel like there's been a change, and like before in the past, players used to just value winning, just championships, and fans weren't that hell-bent on it. And now it's kind of like a switch where like fans are super hell-bent on it, and the players are like, you know what? No, that's actually not is what matters. That's not all that matters.
Kevin Durant. Oh man, I watched the interview, and you made a good point, Joel. Some of these new superstars that are coming up, they feel like winning is not too valuable. I mean, we look at Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard, are two guys that come to mind. Kevin Durant's a little different though, because he's a winner. Outside of those two, he has 2 NBA championships. He has an MVP. He's been one of the best players in the league for a long time. So his case is a little different. I think what he fails to realize is that the NBA we're always critiquing these players because, at the end of the day, you come into the NBA, you want to win a championship. The goal is you want to win at the highest level. You go into every level, AAU, high school, you want to win. College, you want to win. You get to the NBA, you want to win. It's always, I want to win at the highest level because that's where the best players win. And I think him saying, I don't think people spin the narrative. I just think he still doesn't understand what he did when he went to Golden State. Like what he did when he blew a 3-1 lead, he lost, and then went to the team that beat him. He still doesn't fully grasp that was an insane move. He keeps saying we're spinning the narrative. I don't think that's true. I mean, has people kind of forgotten what he's done before Golden State? Some people have. Has people forgotten how great of a player he is after Golden State? Because also the Brooklyn loss was pretty bad. Yeah, I agree. But I think the spinning the narrative part, I can't fully say I agree with that. I think he just doesn't realize how bad 2016 really was in terms of going to another team that blew a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, with what he said here about it like being mental gymnastics and people not really thinking like a logical way, I just think like the way people talk about basketball, you're like, it's not just your accomplishments on a piece of paper. Like, these things don't exist in a vacuum. There are like narratives and nuance around how your career plays out. And like Riv said, I mean, that was crazy. That was like probably the defining moment of the second half, the last 2/3 of the 2010s decade is when Kevin Durant signed in Golden State. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's mental gymnastics for people to kind of think about it that way.
It was a monumental moment in NBA history for sure. And unfortunately, but this is the truth of the matter, whenever you think about Kevin Durant, the first thing you think about is him going to Golden State.
Facts.
It's a unique situation that has never been like recreated in the NBA. That's why it's such a definitive moment for his career.
Yeah, I agree.
It's very simple to break down. Go ahead, John. I was away for a while. You can go ahead, King.
But you know what? I don't think we talk about enough with Kevin Durant. I think we overemphasize with KD the fact he left the Thunder, but we don't talk enough about the Thunder failed to build around him and Russell Westbrook. They didn't put any shooting. They didn't go into luxury tax to bring back James Harden. So he goes to Golden State, and he finally gets the structure and the star power. He finally gets built around the way a superstar should, and he wins 2 championships. This is not to discredit Steph Curry, but he's had Steve Kerr. KD had Scott Brooks. He's had Draymond Green. KD had Serge Ibaka. And then when he goes to Brooklyn, he had to deal with injuries and a lot of uncontrollables. So he goes to the Suns, and all of these moves that he's made up until this point have been based off legacy. He's tried to save his legacy by going to the Warriors, leaving Russ, going to the Nets to create his own, and now going to the Suns because things didn't work out in Brooklyn. But I don't think we really talk enough about the fact that he's had a hard hand throughout his entire career in the NBA. And compared to most superstars like LeBron, like Steph Curry, he has had to, I guess, it's really affected his legacy in a way of which he's left those positions, but it's not like they actually built around him well enough.
John, I understand where you're coming from. Very interesting, but I do understand where you're coming from. One thing I'll say, it's very easy for me to break down Kevin Durant's legacy. So, Jack, you're 100% correct. There's no mental gymnastics here. You were up 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors. You ended up losing that series. You did not play well in those closing games. You left that OKC team to join the team that you lost 3-1. Very easy. You joined a 73-win team, and you made basketball very uneventful for 2 seasons, because the third you ended up getting hurt. And, of course, we all understand if you were healthy, we believe you would have won 3 straight titles. And then you leave, and you've yet to accomplish what you set out to accomplish, which is win an NBA championship, not with the Golden State Warriors, now with Steph Curry as your counterpart, and, of course, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, 2 of the greatest role players in NBA history. Of course, they're more than just role players, but we can acknowledge that when Kevin Durant wasn't in Golden State, that's what they were asked to be. So, yes, you've left and you haven't won a championship. When you become an all-time great, that's unfortunately what has to be with your name. Championships. Unfortunately, for the fact that you don't like when people have this conversation about you. And as a basketball player, I understand that people get harsh critiques. I'm trying to be more conscious of that, not be as direct or forward and rude about my analysis of them. But when it comes to Kevin Durant, it's very easy. But to talk about what you were mentioning, John, about his lack of help, debatable. When it comes to OKC, yes, you could say that team wasn't built great, but
they're going to the finals in 2021 if they
the only move that I didn't love from them was them trading James Harden because they didn't want to have to pay him that money. And in hindsight, obviously, you would have had Russ, you would have had KD and James Harden stick together. That's a championship, in my opinion. Inevitably, you end up winning one. But you leave Golden State, you go to the Nets, you have Kyrie Irving. That team was already formulated relatively well. And then, of course, you trade Jared Allen, you trade Karis LeVert, you trade a bunch of draft picks for James Harden. The 3 were supposed to be the greatest big 3 ever assembled together offensively. And you could say that injuries killed them. He played a part in that. Kevin Durant missed a lot of time that first year that the big 3 were assembled together. Of course, he ends up coming back for the playoff time. He ends up being an unbelievable basketball player in the playoffs, the Kevin Durant that we do know. But then, of course, now this past season, the Nets are back to form. I won't talk about last season because he was underwhelming, extremely underwhelming against the Celtics. And then this past season, everything's clicking. Kevin Durant looks great. Kyrie looks great. The supporting cast looks very great. He gets hurt. And then now you're giving Kyrie time to think about the landscape of this team. What are the Brooklyn Nets without me and Kevin? They're not this great foundational team. Now they look better, of course, because they ended up trading these 2 guys and got some compensation to really complete the roster. Still has their ways to go, but Kevin Durant played a part in that. And of course, last season, the big deal was that they got swept against the Celtics team that a lot of people believe that they should have gotten past. And to not win a game, that very
screw you.
And to get swept is crazy. So I think that it's very simple to break down Kevin Durant's. I put no prior notes into thinking about this. It's just all facts that we have about Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting the timing of this interview because we just got the Embiid quote just last week or the week before, right? Where he kind of, not the same lines, but along the same lines, basically saying, like, it's not everything to just win a championship. And I think the biggest difference between these two is obviously Kevin Durant has done that. He has proven, regardless if you want to say situation with the Warriors, I mean, a lot of players could go into that and win a championship with that dynasty, and Kevin Durant being the high caliber player he is obviously going to make that team unstoppable, which he did for a couple of seasons. But I don't hate the comments KD used because, I mean, he seems like a guy who's very private in one sense where, like, he said, I want to hoop, win games, and go home, enjoy time with my family. But then he also just has, like, burner accounts on Twitter where he, like, defends himself. So I kind of have, like Drew mentioned, pulling of the heartstrings where it's like, in one sense, I want to respect KD and just give him his privacy. But in this other sense, it's like he's been caught with it, but he defends himself at will on Twitter with people that, like, nobody, like, he doesn't know who these people are. He's way more successful than any of these people will ever be, and he still feels like he has the need to defend himself. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that at the end of the day, what matters to him most, it doesn't really matter what we say, right? Like, if he just wants to hoop and go home with his family, that's fine. But then when he gets caught doing some of, like, the other shit, like he has been in the past on Twitter, defending his name, where Kevin Durant does not need any defending. I mean, there's obviously going to be comments made all the time that he joined the super team with the Warriors, who he just blew a 3-1 lead to, who's just the best regular season of all time. Like, I get all of that, but Kevin Durant should feel like, I'm KD. I do not need to go out there and defend myself and defend my name. I'm already cemented as one of the best basketball players of all time, one of the best scorers of all time. There's nothing I can do to a random Twitter user who has 17 followers that's going to change that. So I didn't want to sound like hypocritical because last week I said I didn't like the comments Embiid made because Embiid hasn't won. He hasn't gone out of the second round. He hasn't been able to get over that hump. Well, Kevin Durant has done that already. So if he wants to take more of a backseat and say, I'm just trying to hoop and keep everything else on the outside, that's fine to me. Embiid still has to get that respect, not to me because he doesn't give a shit about me, but I think for the rest of the NBA, the players, front offices, like everyone who's in that NBA, Embiid and Kevin Durant, I think pretty clearly are not seen in the same light historically in the NBA. Right now, obviously, two of the best players in the league, but historically, we're looking at KD as one of the best players of all time. Embiid obviously is one of the best players too, but when you don't have that playoff and championship success, you're not going to be in that same light.
I do think that when it comes to Kevin Durant, for somebody that constantly talks about not caring about how he's perceived or his legacy, he definitely defends it more so than somebody who probably really doesn't care. I do think that Kevin Durant does care about his legacy, but even that, like in itself, I think legacy is a weird topic because overall people are going to get forgotten about anyway. My real gripe when it comes to Kevin Durant and other stars when they make moves that people question is the lack of accountability or awareness around whatever decision they make, and they act totally, I guess, baffled by certain reactions people have by decisions they make. Like when Kevin Durant goes to Golden State and everybody hated the move and he becomes the villain of the NBA, like in his mind, he still believes that it was justified, which it probably was. You know, he made the best decision for himself, but he doesn't understand why he got the pushback he got, when I think it's pretty clear why he got that pushback and the negative reaction that he got. And I think
not
that
like people gave LeBron a pass. They weren't like, good job, LeBron. I'm happy that you joined Miami. No one was happy with that move.
Oh,
yeah,
nah,
and I think when LeBron made the decision, he knew what he did. He probably didn't understand how big of a negative reaction it was going to get.
Correct.
But
Correct.
when LeBron looks back at it now, like he understands why people had that reaction. Rich Paul has come out and said that they probably wouldn't do it the same way they did it when they made the decision because of the negative reaction. So they are aware of their decision and the implications of that. When it seems like Kevin Durant's just like, I just don't understand why you guys just don't like me. Like, I don't understand why you guys are fucking discrediting my championships. I don't understand why you think I'm not this great player. And it's not that we don't think you're a great player, but you made a move that in NBA history is going to go down as one of the moves that is the least favorable and one of the weakest moves that we've seen a star player of his caliber make. And there's just a complete like lack of like self-awareness around decisions that certain NBA stars make. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I take away from, you know, what he said.
The interview is pretty trash, and he did sound oblivious to
John,
the legacy thing.
John, you don't think, and I don't like fully disagree with you, but you don't think OKC built an all right team around them?
They built a dog shit team around KD and Russell Westbrook.
You think so?
The same team that we excused Russell Westbrook for not winning a playoff series with was the same exact core and cast that Kevin Durant had all the years before. I mean, let's go over the Oklahoma City Thunder's 2016 rotation. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Deion Waiters, Steven Adams, Andre Roberson, Randy Foye, Enes Kanter, DJ Augustine, who shot 39% from the field, worse than Randy Foye at 34%, Kyle Singler, Anthony Moran campaign.
Check the year that
that's going to go up 3-1 against a Warriors squad that has not Scott Brooks as their head coach, and they have Clay and Draymond, a really good depth bench. So I understand, look, KD, him leaving the Thunder was a weak move, the weakest in NBA history, and I get that. I would have loved to see him go to Washington, his hometown team.
Yeah.
The reality, though, was that team in Oklahoma City was terrible. They had very little shooting. They had some defense, but a lot of big, like Enes Kanter off the bench. It was not well built by Sam Presti.
But do you forget, and this is my only pushback. I'm not saying you're completely wrong, but they had some runs. I mean, they went to the WCF. They lost to the Spurs. And it wasn't because they didn't have shooting. Their players
They went to the finals.
down the stretch.
They're big three, and then they trade one of those guys. They won't go into
I definitely think that within their era, they were a great team. Yeah, I think that we look back at that OKC team and we look at the lack of space and we critique it, but like they definitely weren't as advanced as Golden State.
Yeah.
But that team was a good team.
Even when they traded Harden, they still played the Spurs in the WCF and they lost in 6 games in their home building. You know, and then a couple of years Westbrook got hurt. You know, shit like I don't think there is that. Like I know you want to harp on the fact that they didn't have shooting, but it was a different NBA than what it was, you know, so it wasn't like it was transitioning to the 3-point era. But the only team that had elite shooting from top to bottom was Golden State. And even then, OKC, the way they got their buckets and the way they did things was in the paint, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, defensively, they were great. And I don't think you can say that they were a bad team necessarily. They weren't built right. They had runs. They just folded within themselves.
I agree with that, but it wasn't just that they lacked shooting around KD and Serge, who was developing it. It was the fact they didn't really have any reliable cast or supporting cast players in those years.
I think the coaching point is valid. I think that's the most valid one. Yeah, because I think Scott Brooks was a terrible coach.
It wasn't Billy Donovan in 2016 or I'm bugging.
It was Billy Donovan at that time. Yeah.
No, because the Wizards actually hired Scott Brooks to poach Kevin Durant.
I actually would have
been simple if he just went to Boston, man. He would have avoided all this. Still would have won a championship. You know
he should have went to Washington. He should have went to
Washington.
I think he wants to go to Washington. Be so serious.
Nobody wants to go to Boston.
I'm gonna be honest.
Actually, we made a mistake. Billy Donovan was
a historical franchise.
Who have you poached out of free agency? That's a primetime super. Anything you do with trade.
It's been times, but Al Horford and Al Horford and Gordon Hayward have been the two biggest ones. But we've had
Kemba Walker,
Brown, Jason Tatum.
Kemba Walker's all right. Yeah, he left Charlotte.
Cool. But yeah, I mean,
Malcolm Brogdon was a trade.
So it's not really like.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest.
I think
Rob.
You have one ring in 23 years.
I think KD potentially. My goodness, you guys just keep going.
Bro, what are we talking about here?
Holy moly! I think one of the biggest what ifs that I wanted to see happening within NBA history is Kevin Durant going to Washington and teaming up with John Wall and Bradley Beal. Like I would have really loved that. I don't know if they would have won a championship, but I feel like that team, it just they would have had a shot for sure.
That's your favorite what if in NBA history?
I didn't say it was my favorite.
Balance.
I thought you said one of my biggest what ifs.
Yeah, I was gonna say like contextually, to me at least, like the circles I was in, it's important to remember. In 2016, Kevin Durant was getting cooked for blowing the lead, yada, yada, yada. I don't think there was a ton of people who were going to, like, cook him for leaving OKC in a vacuum. Like, it seemed kind of like a foregone conclusion. Washington was on the table. Boston. I was curious about San Antonio as a possibility. I thought that could have been cool with him and Kawhi and Greg Popovich and all that. Like, people expected him to leave. It was where he went that like shattered the earth.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, you joined a 73-win team that you just blew a 3-1 lead to. Duh, people were going to be upset, Kevin.
So this week in the NBA, I have a would you rather on Dillon Brooks, the villain of the NBA.
Dillon Brooks, would you rather is crazy.
Dillon Brooks or Austin Reeves.
That's actually a good name. I didn't have that name written down, but I'm definitely going to have that. This is Would you rather Dillon Brooks edition, the villain of the NBA?
I will probably pick
Gross.
everybody over Dillon Brooks.
This is so gross.
First name up, Draymond Green.
Draymond.
Yeah, give me
Green.
Draymond.
Russell Westbrook right now.
I would take Westbrook right now.
I'm taking Dillon Brooks.
I'll take Dillon Brooks. Give me Dillon Brooks. God.
Westbrook. I'm gonna go Westbrook.
It's harder to find a wing defender at the level of Dillon, so we gotta go Dillon.
Yeah.
I bet you it's easy to find a shot trucker like him.
If I could hypnotize him into taking like less shots, Dillon
Can we?
Brooks.
Is that possible though?
I can do. If you pay me $1 million, I can do everything Dillon Brooks does offensively on a basketball court.
I'm just imagining like hypnotizing Dillon Brooks to just take a shot.
Stop shooting. Pass the ball.
I'm gonna go Russ.
Patrick Beverly.
Dillon
I'm
Brooks.
gonna go Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, I'll go Dillon Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm going
sure.
Dillon Brooks as well.
Fucking
Jaden McDaniels.
Jaden. come through.
McDaniels. Yeah,
I'll go
Tom.
McDaniels.
I would rather.
with that.
I would rather McDaniels.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going Jaden McDaniels too. OG Anunoby.
OG.
OG Anunoby.
Yeah,
OG for
give me
sure.
OG.
OG for sure.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm going Dillon Brooks. I'm gonna go
You're,
Dillon
you're
Brooks.
trolling. You're baiting. Right?
Yeah, he's so serious.
Josh Hart.
Josh
Josh
Hart.
Hart. Yeah, Josh Hart,
Comfortably.
100%.
The rebound is nuts for a 6'4" guard.
And
I'll
he
be
can
honest.
shoot.
Yeah, I'll go Josh Hart.
And he just makes a lot of impact plays.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
that's
a winning
just-
player.
Yeah, I'll
The
go
winning
Josh.
player.
I feel like we're
Uh,
undervaluing Dillon Brooks a little bit here.
He did a step back 3 with down 30, and nobody was in
Wait,
front
I
of him.
don't know.
But he's
I don't-
one of the
honestly,
best defenders
Joel,
in the NBA.
why did you decide to go with? Why did you decide to go Dillon Brooks over OG Anunoby? I'm curious.
I like his ferociousness more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say it's gotta be just some
that
intangible.
doing the
because he does
vibe?
nothing
Listen,
better than that.
I think OG's a
better.
fantastic defender. He hits threes, there's no doubt.
He didn't
But
pick Pat Bev over Dillon Brooks. His
but that-
ferociousness clears.
No, but Dillon Brooks has more to offer. It's just, I feel like OG doesn't have that like chip that you kind of need, like one of your grit and grind players to have. And
Does
I
Drew
think
Holiday have that?
He plays for
Dillon-
Toronto, bro.
Dillon Brooks is more of a heart and soul to a team. Like,
He's
you know,
more fucking bark
he's
and bite.
animated.
I
He's
would
talking
be very
shit.
happy
Then
getting
gets
OG
30 rebounds per
Anunoby
game.
and finding the chip elsewhere, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Like,
facts.
you could get someone else to replace that. Dillon Brooks is really good at that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think OG
Dillon Brooks just
Anunoby-
be yelling with them tight ass braids and screaming and hollering all day.
Yeah,
I'm taking Dillon Brooks over Josh Hart, though. I think I'll take him over.
I'm
Josh
going
Hart.
Josh Hart.
I love Josh Hart, bro. Yeah, I'm
Some
going
Knicks
Josh.
fan.
You're taking Dillon Brooks over Josh Hart?
He's not a
Some
Knicks
Knicks
Yeah.
fan.
What are we doing here,
like,
Joel?
I feel like Dillon Brooks has become so hated that he's kind of like
He does it to
underrated.
himself.
He's just mid. He's
I
just
think
like he's a good
I would
defender.
agree with
Offensively
that
does
to
nothing.
some people, but I'm still going Josh Hart over.
It's just it's Dillon Brooks' offense is just really one of the worst in the league. It's really bad.
Marcus Smart.
It's one of the most destructive offensive games. That's
Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart.
Yeah, I'll go Marcus
Yeah,
Smart.
I would rather Marcus Smart as well.
Smart.
He's
Hey,
also
last couple
somebody-
games, Smart's been locked in.
Sometimes,
defensively.
but sometimes Marcus Smart offensively can be destructive. Sometimes
Exactly.
He can,
the same
he
way.
can.
he can get a
Yeah,
little
sure.
locked.
Horrible
For sure.
IQ sometimes.
I'm going with the depoy. I'm going with Marcus Smart as well.
Shocker.
Enough with the
appalled,
depoy. I
actually.
hate that word.
Am I? Or do people not say depoy?
No.
I don't know.
I don't. Just defensive player of the year.
Jared Vanderbilt.
The Vandalorian. Should it be?
That's close.
That's actually tough.
Vando.
That's the closest
That's
one. On
that's
this
the
list, I
closest
would
one so
say.
far. I'd probably go Vando though.
I'd go Dillon Brooks.
It really depends on the construction of the team and what you
Yeah.
need because they do such different things. But
I
you
watch
know,
Vando misses too many open layups. I can't
that's
do
true.
it.
It's
I
can't do
won't
tough
lie.
to
His
watch
finishing,
sometimes.
his finishing really is not that good.
I can't do it sometimes. He be bugging.
Yeah, in a vacuum, I'd probably go Dillon Brooks.
I'm going Dillon Brooks too. I'll go Dillon Brooks.
Vando
now-
for his career shoots like 70% at the rim too, which is really weird.
He
It's
just
bizarre.
misses. He'll get it.
No,
misses.
I got you. Yeah, no, he gets his second chance opportunities.
Yeah, it's weird.
Definitely does
He's
be on the
stat pattern.
boards.
On the Lakers, he's at 60%.
Yeah, bro, he really.
He'd be stat pattern.
Maybe why, but for sure.
He does the Andre Drummond. He just
And now this is the
Eventually
last
going.
player I have on here. Herb Jones.
I'll
Dillon
take
Brooks.
I'll take her.
Herb's
like
kind of
Herb.
having a down year.
It's
He is
just
having a down
shooting.
year.
The shooting's inconsistent.
He's a lefty too.
Yeah.
Lefty's supposed to stroke it. He can't.
Yeah,
Case in point.
I'm gonna go with
Give me
Brooks.
Herb Jones. I don't
Yeah,
care.
maybe. I think that's the first one.
Herb Jones for the vibes.
Yeah. I had a video blow up. I had a video blow up with Herb Jones, so I'll
Really?
take Herb. There we
He's
go.
a much
Herb
better
Jones for the
open
vibes is
court
lit.
player.
If they start playing Herb like Draymond Green, they might be better.
What are
It's
some
hard to pick
other?
I'm taking Herb
You
Jones.
can't pass though. Like
Dylan Brooks or Alex Caruso?
Alex Caruso.
Caruso.
I would say
I-
Caruso.
I would
most
go
destructive,
Caruso.
most
I'm
destructive
taking Reeves over him,
defender in the
too.
league.
Rave apologize.
For Reeves.
Are
I
you
think
actually
apologize,
saying-
Brooks. Calm.
I've been
Are you
apologized.
actually taking
I'll
Austin Reeves
never
over Dillon
forgive you
Brooks?
for it. I'll
I
never
am taking
forgive you
Austin
for
Reeves
it.
over Dillon Brooks without a doubt.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, that's bullshit.
Bullshit. You'd rather have Dillon Brooks on your team than Austin Reeves?
Austin Reeves, one of
Yes.
the most complete role players in the game. Respect him.
Jesus Christ.
I
Who
said
could do
role
more?
players.
I think Austin Reeves does more.
I
He's
don't know
not
who I
as
would
good as
have.
a defender, but
I don't know,
he's still a good
honestly.
defender.
What about Dillon Brooks or prime PJ Tucker?
What the fuck is
PJ
a prime
Tucker.
PJ
Give
Tucker?
me
Why
PJ
does PJ Tucker have to be brought up in every episode?
This is the Rockets, PJ Tucker.
You know, Philly
He's a
has, like,
fucking legend.
Philly's Philly's
have
like
you got-
30-8 when he has 0 points.
Yeah, have you guys seen
Yeah,
this
it's
trend on
nuts.
TikTok where it's like a random ass role player that was like mid, and it's like fuck it.
It's your burner.
Highlights.
Yeah.
Like I the other day I got fuck it PJ Tucker highlights, and it just
Dude,
started.
PJ
they
Tucker
played-
was pretty good.
Yeah, they played Meek Mill, I'm a boss, and it started with like Tucker like getting a fucking steal.
Oh,
and
are
shit.
you Joel? You talk about the fuck it highlights on
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I see
those are
somebody do fuck it highlights. Luke Babbitt from the Pelicans.
I saw Mauricio Huertas from the Lakers.
Oh,
Yeah, those are funny.
I saw Nene highlights a while back with that.
for real.
Fact.
They're
Nene
fun.
was
They're
funny.
fun.
The
No,
name
they
was
are
nice.
fun.
Stuff.
The
but-
name
I
was
saw
nice.
a Raymond Felton one that was pretty.
That
pretty
one was
dope.
dope. I saw that one. He was
Legend.
he was mean mugging everybody. That shit was tough.
Yeah,
Raymond Felton was cool.
hilarious.
He's better than you.
He is.
Felton.
I'm a big fan of the one of Kendrick Perkins doing his handling. The crossover continuously.
In the driveway, moving at like 2 miles an hour. That ball
Nah, man,
rolls
that
away
trend
and
is
he's not
hilarious, bro. That trend is so fucking funny. The Nets shut down Ben Simmons.
Okay.
This is sad, man. You know, because I was thinking about this and I was like, it's kind of odd that at the same time Ben Simmons' career is falling off, Markelle Fultz seems to be rising. And Markelle Fultz is rising fast. He is.
I was just gonna say, it seems to me like if this had happened a little earlier in Ben Simmons' career, we could see a Markelle Fultz situation where it goes like he stinks, he's supposed to be good, and then the switch just flips one day, and people are like, I just want to see him play basketball to some degree, the way that it kind of went with Markelle Fultz.
Did people ever hate Markelle Fultz?
No,
in your
that's what I'm
opinion, Jack?
saying. It's like if Markelle Fultz had an Atlanta Hawks series like that, this would not be the same situation, but he didn't, so it is.
It's hard to hate on
I-
someone who like Fultz just wasn't really playing. You know, like Simmons
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
playing.
he had
was on
no
Philly.
bad
Yeah,
moments. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
Especially
people
with his
hate
shoulder.
Jonathan Isaac. So
And that's for like
why,
political
though?
reasons.
Yeah,
Who hates
yeah.
Jonathan Isaac?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot about that, Joel. Joel's right.
Yeah,
Joel's right.
that's really all
What
it
did you
is,
say?
but it's
That people
politically.
hate Jonathan Isaac for
Oh,
political
okay.
reasons.
But yeah, the Nets shut down Ben Simmons, and I mean, looking back at this, like the Philly trade, I mean, Daryl Morey fleeced Sean Marks, and it's funny because I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw somewhere that it was Daryl Morey was like just told Sean Marks like stay on the goddamn phone like during the trade deadline, like he just totally like sunned him, and I was like, no, you're staying on this phone, and we're getting this deal done. And you know, at the time, I wasn't like opposed to this trade. You know, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond in a vacuum sounds like okay. You know, it fills some of the Nets holes and you know, shooting, defense, big man. That's okay. And then the Sixers got James Harden, which last year the fruits weren't really tasted at that point. But this year he's been really good. I just feel like Ben Simmons, this career arc is really strange. And do you guys think that he'll ever find a way to bounce back?
It is. I have to bounce 5 o'clock, but I just want to leave you guys with this Celtics propaganda before I go. Since the
is this guy
break,
dead
12
ass?
12 wins, third most in the NBA, top 5 offense, top 2 defense, number 1 net rating. Giannis, last 10 games against the Celtics, shooting 40, 46, 40, 38, 46, 59, 40, 53, 40, 36. 6 losses over those last 10 games. Boston Celtics have beaten the Bucks by 20 on Christmas, 40, the worst loss of the season. Bucks did beat us by 6. We didn't have Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Marcus Smart. That being said, fellas, it's been a blast. Jack, great
Take
to
care.
meet you.
Good to meet you,
Ben
bro.
Simmons.
Good
Comeback
cooking
story.
there at the end. Oh my
I'll be
god.
honest. I'll be
He
honest.
left out.
John, I'll be honest. I've never seen a team milk Martin Luther King rings like the Boston Celtics. Like it's really insane.
You're a Bulls fan.
How they milk
We have
those
the
rings.
same amount of rings in the
bro.
last 20
Dehls
years.
left
We have
out the
more rings, I
part
should
where
say.
Jason Tatum shoots 42% in elimination games, but
What happened? What happened? Game 6
work.
elimination in Milwaukee. John, just remind me. I forgot.
Go
He
to work.
forgets. No, John
40,
refuses to
40,
acknowledge one of the better performances of
46?
last year's postseason.
Okay,
Get-
type shit.
Joel, get out of here
We'll
while
see the
you're on
Nuggets
a
in the
high.
finals, John. We'll see him. Peace, fellas.
My goodness.
I've truly
man.
never seen a team do it like them. They've done
He
it at a
cooked up, though.
historical rate.
He
Yeah.
cooked up.
Nah,
though.
he did. He had
He
those stats
did.
for
I mean, he was waiting for
He
that.
tweeted that like 3 days ago. He just read a tweet that he tweeted.
I
He was
respect
ready
it.
with it.
Yeah.
It was good
So-
timing.
Yeah, Drew,
Get back
you're the
on.
Ben Simmons
Yeah,
guy.
I am, and it's sad. It honestly breaks my heart, to be honest with you. Our first, not even one of, it was the first video that Pick a Side had really blow up on that scale, and of course, it's me supporting Ben Simmons. It's over. It's over. The Ben Simmons train, it's done. It's at full stop, and it's no longer functioning. This trade that went on with the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets is one of the craziest fleecings you'll ever see. And you mentioned it. Sean Marks absolutely got sunned by Daryl Morey. Morey put on a masterclass, was able to acquire James Harden. And even still, as much as belief that I had in Ben Simmons, I even knew that this was a win for the Philadelphia 76ers because you were getting James Harden for someone that was not playing, that he was providing absolutely nothing for you. You got James Harden. You were able to pair him with Joel Embiid. That was obviously going to be an automatic W there. But for Ben Simmons, it's hard to find a spot for him unless he's fully committing to becoming a full-time center. Because you can't have players on the court next to him that also cannot shoot because he provides no spacing for you. Yes, Ben Simmons is a solid playmaker. No doubt he's a solid passer. But at this point, he's not able to really handle the ball. He's afraid to put the ball on the ground at this point, too. He's
won't
not aggressive.
shoot, like, and
And-
not even
and-
shoot. Like he
Right,
won't shoot
attacking the
layups.
basket. He's not trying to put any type of post hooks, no floaters, no nothing at the basket. He's just trying to look to make the pass. Defensively, of course, he's one of the better defenders. He's very sound at that. But regardless, when you provide absolutely nothing for a team offensively, unless you're committing to being a true center, which I don't see him becoming, Ben Simmons and his time being any type of great basketball player, those days are over.
I don't think
It's weird.
My fault. I don't think he has to be a center. You know, I don't think his role has to necessarily transition to a center, but I do think he has.
Where do you see him succeeding most?
I
I
think
mean, why
if
can't he be a Jared Vanderbilt?
yeah, or Draymond, like in that
Jared
realm, like,
Vanderbilt at
Vanderbilt-
least will sit in a corner, and if you ask him to shoot, he
But
may not
that's-
make it,
and
but he'll
that's-
take it.
And that's the development. That's the thing. He has to understand, not even be a center. He has to understand, bro, like, I have to take this shot. Whether I'm going to
Facts.
miss it, I'm going to make it. I have to take this shot. I have to keep the defense honest. That's the problem. I don't think the role, the problem is the role, but it's because he won't shoot anything. If he's able to shoot anything or take advantage of mismatches, he's 6'10", for God's sake, you know, attack the basket, then his role becomes a little bit easier to maneuver. But the fact that he won't even look at the rim is the real issue. Like you said, defensively, Jared Vanderbilt is a good guy that you can, like, he can play that type of role. He can play a Draymond role for a team. Like, he can play roles in the league. There's still a role for him, but he has to become a little bit more aggressive. He has to look at the rim and be like, bro, I have to take the shot no matter. That's the main issue. And of course, he has to be healthy if he's actually really, truly hurt.
Yeah.
And I would say with Vanderbilt, like that comparison, Vanderbilt, half of his game is his mind and like hustling. Like you can't really teach that kind of thing. It's not common that it develops at the point that Ben Simmons is at in his career. So asking him to be that guy that you're going to be able to look at in the playoff series, he will struggle like shooting the ball or whatever, but you're going to get games where he'll get like 12 rebounds out of nowhere because he's just like grinding on that end of the floor. Ben Simmons, one of the biggest things that pisses me off that nobody talks about is how much he just stands around. Like
Facts.
he doesn't, off-ball movement is not there. He's not really like, his screens are very half-hearted. Just all of this stuff that like little things that you don't need to be skilled at, you don't need to be able to shoot the ball to do, don't get done by him. And I think we should pretty seriously consider or reconsider what back on track means for Ben Simmons at this point in his career, because like everything Philly is out the window for me. And I think like him just contributing to a winning basketball team, playing defense and maybe getting 5 or 6 assists per game is like what I would like to see out of him moving forward. And if he passes that bar, fine. But like a back injury like he has for a guy who's 6'10" and relies on his athleticism so much, it's not good.
Yeah, like I'm very curious to really know how much his back injury has affected his career. Because I think that when we talk about Ben Simmons, a lot of what we talk about is the mindset, and that's all valid. But I wonder how much of that has to do with his back and how much of an impact that injury has had on his career. Because I think people kind of undersell it to a degree. I think that it probably has had a bigger impact than people realize. And you're right. I think that for him, getting back on track is him just becoming a rotational player. Like it's not even him becoming a starter. It's him just becoming a capable rotational player. And what pissed me off about Ben Simmons the most is like, there's still like a subgroup of people. I don't think like as much now they're as open, but before definitely when the Nets first started their season, there was like a subgroup of people that were just Ben Simmons truthers. And they just believed that it was all roll. His flaws just came down to roll. And that's obviously not true. And when we look at like face value stats, and people love to say this a lot, oh, you guys knock Ben Simmons for scoring 7 points, but Draymond does the same thing, and nobody gives him pushback. And it's like at that point you can obviously tell like who's watching and who's not,
and the reason
the
why
points are different. Go, John.
Draymond is an elite rim protector. The Nets tried Ben Simmons at center, and he could not protect the rim. Draymond is one of the greatest passing bigs we've seen. Ben Simmons is playing hot potato out there. And so I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to add that point.
Well, yeah, it's night and day.
For Ben Simmons.
Draymond's also aggressive when he needs to be.
He doesn't give a shit about missing the layup.
Too aggressive, one might say. That Grizzlies game comes to mind.
Relax.
And you
I'm
know
just
what?
saying.
But I would rather that mistake happen.
Facts,
and
I
have
agree.
his
I
career
I'd rather
agree.
play
that than
out.
Ben Simmons.
You're right. You're
I
right.
remember watching Ben Simmons. There was an infectious energy and a joy that's been stripped, whether that's mental after getting paid, the back injury, or the culmination of just, I don't know, I've made it in life. I don't give a shit about basketball, whatever the case may be. He's not a shell of himself.
Bro, start
Get
it.
it out, John.
Holy shit.
Describe the type of fall off. There's no word to describe it.
Speechless.
Nice save there. Bro had the word and he just forgot it. He was like, damn it.
It happens. It happens to the best of us. Stop.
It's
No,
definitely-
I was
definitely
actually
happening
trying to
before.
think of the word. I couldn't come up with one.
Goodness.
Then he mutes himself.
John is
Dude's
funny as
tactical.
hell, bro.
Fucking tactical.
Oh.
John, you're tactical, my friend.
Oh my
Well, I've also
goodness,
got
man.
a boxer in the background too. that makes
Nice,
me
nice,
laugh.
nice.
So.
I was eating some chips, so that's why I was muting myself.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think that now looking back at the Ben Simmons saga, Joel Embiid definitely gets a lot of passes for like his playoff lack of success in there, because it's just hard to win the playoff series when you have Ben Simmons. And the latest MVP straw poll, we talked about it briefly, but Embiid won the MVP by 2 votes, 790 to Jokic's 788. But it's because Embiid has 6 more second place votes. Jokic has more first place votes. So, Jack, I want to get your take on Embiid winning this poll. And this was after he had not showed up to Denver and played that game. I just want to get your take on Embiid possibly winning the MVP this year for Jokic.
I hope he does, because I'm so sick of it. It's just He deserves an MVP. It's fine, sure, but like just this, I mean, constantly. It's been 3 years of just war with his fans, and I like Embiid, but I have Jokic in my name, so everybody's like cooking a lot of the time, and so it's just awful. And I mean, I have no problem if he wins it. That interview stunk. That was cringe. I don't know why he said that and then didn't play and then played the next 2 games. Sit out a different game because it's just wild to me to rightfully question the shifting narratives of MVP, the criteria, how it changes all the time, and then you have that game. If Embiid cooks again, another 47 whatever piece, even if the Sixers don't win, if Embiid embarrasses Jokic how he did earlier in the season, to me the award is locked up. Because I feel like narrative-wise, I wouldn't say they're trying to give it to him, but he was pulling ahead, especially with how Denver had that horrible losing streak at the wrong time. And I think if he plays that game and he plays really well, he's leading by more than 2 points. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So very, very easily, Joel Embiid, in my opinion, has been one of the best basketball players in the game. My personal MVP is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I said that on the last show that we had. I believe that Giannis, just the two-way ability that he displays, the fact that his team is number 1 in the Eastern Conference, averaging over 30 points, potentially will be a first-team all-defense. I take that into account when I look at my MVP. However, Joel Embiid, to all the reasons that you just said, Jack, I feel might have cost himself. The most important reason why I feel like he might have cost himself is for the fact that, perfectly said, sits out against the Nuggets, a team that he has not played in Denver since 2019, and then proceeds to go on and play the next 2. It was very easy and very obvious to understand you should have gone against Jokic, especially if you're going to come out and make the comments that you did about how, hey, there's no pressure on me. I'm not the back-to-back MVP. I've never made a first-team All-NBA. And the fact that you ducked him, I don't care what you say. Hey, the management came out and said that I'm not playing. Obviously, Embiid
You're
didn't
Joel
say
Embiid.
that.
It's
You're
your
Joel
decision.
Embiid. Exactly. That's really what it comes down to. Joel Embiid says, no, I'm playing against Jokic because obviously this is my biggest rival at my position. I have to suit up. I have to put this performance forward to show why I'm the best center in the game. So I believe that Jokic, again, my MVP is Giannis Antetokounmpo, but of these 2, Jokic has just been the most reliable, the most consistent. Not that Joel hasn't been consistent or reliable, but Jokic leading his team to the number 1 seed in the Western Conference for a majority of the season, being the best team in the Western Conference, being one of the best teams in the NBA.
And
all
I will
the
just
advanced
say
stacks
this,
go to Jokic. Go ahead, bud.
they stink these last couple of games that he has
No
sat
doubt.
out. They have
No
been
doubt.
unwatchable. I mean,
Is he sitting out tonight, please?
I hope not, because I mean, I'm
Is
getting
it the
kinda,
Warriors?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the Warriors. I'm
Please.
sweating. This is a 2-game
No,
window with the
please,
Grizzlies.
Please sit out.
Oh, bro, I don't
Yo,
know.
we
I
need him
haven't
to
checked,
play.
but yeah,
I'll-
and like with how I think it's his calf or whatever. I feel
Yeah,
like
he
he
like
probably
calf up. The playoffs matter more. Don't
he
play.
probably could have sat out the Sixers game. And I think like he just thought Embiid was gonna play and played. And I mean, I know the report came out hours before, and he probably changed his mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he played through a little something there. It seems like.
It just feels like when it comes to Embiid, and this is I with how they were playing with Harden after beat the Bucks, like I had faith in his team maybe making this like miraculous playoff run. The reason why I've kind of sold my stock in them is because the lack of fire I'm kind of seeing from Embiid right now. The lack of competitiveness not going up against Jokic is one thing, but then just like these repeated comments of you talking about how much it doesn't really matter to win a championship. Like Embiid should be at the stage of his career, him and James Harden alike, where it's just all they think about when it comes to their career and where they are now is winning a goddamn championship. And for Embiid to come out every other week, which I'm obviously, hyperbole here, but in his latest interview, say that, it's not all that matters. Like, come on, man. Like, why are you downplaying it so much? Like it feels like he's setting up his fans and Sixers fans up for failure. Like, hey, if we don't make a deep playoff run, don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say I didn't tell you. And that's what it feels like. And that's why to me it's kind of been disappointing. And I feel like Philly, they just kind of lack that fire right now that it takes to win a championship. Because when it comes to Jaylen Brown, even in Jaylen Brown's interview where he's talking about his future with Boston, all he's talking about is, all I care about is winning the championship. He's the second best guy on the team. Giannis, when he talks, all he cares about is winning the championship. But when it comes to Embiid, it just feels like, it's, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't really matter. And I don't like that type of mindset from a player who is as good as him.
The one thing I could say about Giannis, and the one thing I can respect about him, is when he talks in his interviews, he says stuff like, I don't focus on the past. I hide my trophies because I want to keep winning. I want to keep winning. He talks about LeBron and Steph, how much they win. He won against that level. Like, he always is talking about the winning, the next level stuff. And that's something you got to, especially when you're a franchise guy, when he wants to win that bad, it boosts a little confidence in you. And even the Joker, he mostly talks about, I just want to win. He doesn't really care about all the extra stuff. He just wants to win. When your franchise player talks about that, it gives you the little confidence in yourself. Like, my guy wants to win, so he's going to give it his all. For Embiid, I've been watching NBA since like 2005. It's like over 14, 15 years. I've seen Kobe fans be upset about, him winning one MVP. I've seen LeBron fans be upset that he didn't get his MVPs. But the one thing I can comfortably say is they have never thrown a fit the way Joel Embiid fans have thrown a fit the last 3 years about this guy not winning an MVP. It's like a pity party. It's like, bro, and they be acting like he's losing to a bum. He's not losing to a bum. They acting like he's losing MVP to Steve Nash. I understand that. I get that part. Like, 15 and 11, what's up? I average 30. What's going on? But you're literally losing to probably the best player in the league. Like, this is a 25, 11, and 11 guy. This
at
is
least regular season. Like,
this ain't no bum. Like, this is not no regular dude. This is like a top 5 player in the world. And y'all throwing fits. Y'all trolled the Joker every week. It was one point where Giannis fans joined forces with Embiid fans.
I was
and they
just about to say that.
the Joker because they didn't want him to win MVP. And it's like, and then Embiid with these comments, bro, you have not made it out the second round. I'm talking about Jimmy Butler's done it. PG's done it. Trae Young's done it. These aren't players on your level. They've done it. You have not. You're the only top 10 player that has yet to see a conference finals. And you have the nerve to sub the Joker, who at minimum doesn't even have his players, and you can still see on the court. He's giving teams hell, like absolute hell. He just doesn't have his players. And even he's went to a WCF. And you out there subbing him in your interview. You talk about him a lot. It's really weird. But you subbing him in your interviews, and then you saying, oh, that's not really all important. Like, bro, Joel Embiid, I'm not a fan, but you're one of the best players in the league. Like, you have a franchise. You have a city behind your back. You have James Harden. He's also looking for a championship. This is a guy who's done it all.
James looks hungry. James looks locked in.
Yeah. Even Tyrese Maxey looks hungry. DeAnthony Melton is hungry. PJ Tucker is hungry.
Yeah,
Tobias Harris, to a degree, looks hungry. And I don't even like Tobias. He's mid as fuck, but he looks hungry for a chip.
He looks locked in, dude.
Yeah, so it's like you being the guy. Like Tobias Harris, and you being the superstar, and you all in the interview like, and mind you, in the interview, he looks sad as fuck. He's, why
body language is tough.
Yeah, the body. He was so sad looking and depressed. The body language was low. It was like, bro, what the fuck?
And I will say,
I don't know, bro. Embiid is just, he's so great, but the mindset doesn't equate with the ability, and it's so aggravating. And you want to see more. Like, you want to see him be hungry for it, but it's like, it's just not given.
I think it has to do with the playoffs. Joel wanting to stay healthy, because that's been the biggest reason why they haven't been able to get to the conference finals at large. Now, there's one thing with the MVP specifically. Giannis and Embiid's teams have winning records without them. You're talking before, Jack, about how ass the Nuggets are without Jokic. That is a pity party. Watching Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan start NBA games. They're 3-7 without Jokic this year.
Bro, I watched the Joker miss a game. I swear to God, MPJ saw that. He took 15 shots in the first quarter. He didn't give a fuck. Everything was up. Like,
legend.
He did not care, bro.
You don't like a player like that? Ray, you're telling me you don't love just a straight shooter?
No, I was fine with it. I was like, fuck it. Like,
that's the best meme in the league right now is MPJ with Carmelo on one shoulder and J.R. Smith on the other, and they're both like, fucking shoot it.
Bro, he does not hesitate. He gets that rock, and it's just immediate.
It's
right
going
up.
up.
You're
It's
never
going
seeing
up.
it back. If he gets that ball, go back on defense.
Mhm.
It's going up. All the time,
Especially
bro.
like, yeah.
It's usually good though. He
No, he's
usually
6'10".
makes
Do
his
it.
shots.
He's
And I will
6'10".
say
Cash.
about Joel Embiid's comments, I really do try to like separate the things players say from what they do on the court, because people say it's words, people say shit all the time, and I understand how it like allows you kind of like insight into the way that they're thinking and how they're feeling and stuff like that, and how it can impact the way that they're going to play. I want to see Embiid do great this playoffs, but like a physical series against the Boston Celtics would be concerning for that team to me, because I think like he can. I don't know.
He's gonna start whining.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the Nuggets fan that's like, oh, he's crying.
Oh no, I'll say it. I'm a generational hater. I'll say
Because
it.
he's like, yeah, I'm just saying, when the game slows down in the playoffs, those calls can go away sometimes. They let the game get more physical. And when that happens, if he's healthy, because I don't want to see him get injured again, I'm curious how that's going to go when they hit that point in the playoffs.
Yeah, I do want Joel Embiid to go on a playoff run as well, because James Harden is my favorite player in the NBA. So I'm hoping that he does go on a playoff run. But I don't know,
Teams
man.
that Joel roots for more than the Knicks. Here we go. James Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Look at him.
Lord.
He's like, he just
Hey
acknowledged
Jack,
it.
hey Jack,
He's
what
done.
Jack,
He's
Jack,
done.
what are your thoughts on Anthony Edwards, the Ant-Man?
I love Anthony Edwards, bro.
He's awesome.
That's why I hated the Rudy
I'm
Gobert trade from day one, because I was like,
Yeah.
why are we the win now window? It's not with Karl Anthony Towns. That is abundantly clear to me. It's super cool that you guys were good last season. Blowing the window of like age 25 to 29 Anthony Edwards so you can play with Rudy Gobert is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Like I'm high on Anthony Edwards. He is really good.
I'm
Could
gonna
you
be looking
imagine
forward
that
to
going
the.
forward?
Could you imagine Anthony Edwards with the Knicks and the Mecca
Well, I'm saying
bringing us a championship?
Luka to the Knicks, but
Nah, Timberwolves would
Walker
hate me if
Kessler, Jaden Ant-Man.
Timberwolves fans would hate me if I one day just randomly photoshopped Edwards in a Knicks jersey.
I know
have
Timberwolves.
to
I mean,
understand.
that's a tough team to be a fan of. They're going
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah, they are for
Yeah, the
sure.
Lakers smoked them like cigars. It's awesome.
But this is
Yeah.
still one of the Timberwolves' best seasons the last 2 decades.
I know.
So,
Well, yeah, their head coach just got like 90 wins and is second in franchise history now.
He's climbing up the ranks. That's hilarious.
it's like Luke Walton being like up there for Kings wins.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that we're gonna do it for this show. We did have a last topic of Luca, but we'll save it for another
Mavericks
day.
don't deserve
I
a
appreciate that because your
Yeah.
boy's in Disney, and I'm trying to hit up Disney Springs.
I'm not
for the
gonna
vibe.
lie. I was thinking about doing one more segment, but my ass on his stool right now is just hurting. I'm
Two
like,
ad segments, bro. Come on.
I'm like,
Bro,
I'm
he
like,
loves talking about
damn.
him and his ass, bro. I'm telling you, he's got something going on.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm just like, fuck, bro. I need to get up and like walk, man. Shit. But yeah, man, yo, Jack, it was a blast having you on the show today, man.
Yeah, you
I'm
guys are
giving you the
super
round
cool.
of applause
Thanks
for
for
the
having me
machine
on,
that
bro.
we don't have
Yeah.
anymore.
Nah, man, yo, usually like when we have first time guests, we're kind of like, oh, let's see if this goes well and shit. But bro, this was seamless, flawless.
Seamless,
You
no doubt,
fit
no
right in.
doubt.
You fit right into the conversation. So I know, Drew, you like to segue these things.
Oh, absolutely. So, Jack, of course, we do appreciate you coming onto the show. But is there anything that you want to shout out before you go?
My TikTok, JokicJoestar. That's Jokic, like the basketball player, and then JOESTAR, all lowercase, one word. Go check me out. Hit me up.
All right, cool. Sounds good. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick Aside Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick Aside Podcast. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy.